Day 1, a father pledged free primary, secondary and university education should he win the August elections. His manifesto also focused on the manufacturing sector, agriculture, healthcare and support for the small and medium enterprises.
Manufacturing. We will waive regulatory and other licensing fees for new youth-led innovations. We will review immigration laws with regard to potential investors in manufacturing to attract foreign direct investment to the country. We will give incentives to Kenyans, including diaspora and foreigners, to invest in manufacturing. In energy, we will set a roadmap to reduction in cost of energy, roadmap to increase generation of energy.
His running mate Martha Karua said that ticket is about a new beginning in restoring dignity to all Kenyans through health, education, economy and ensuring that no one is left behind.
We are thinking more of utilizing what we have. Debt is not bad in itself, but the first stop is efficiency, to use what we have. And if you remember, we were in the Kibaki government of 2003. We didn't start by borrowing. We started by using what we had, the available resources, efficiently.
The presidential aspirant Muthiora Kariara banned his voters count at the Bombers of Kenya after the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission declined to register him for the August elections. According to the poll body's chairperson Ufula Chebukati, this was due to the insufficient signatures that Kariara presented. On the first attempt, IEBC turned him away, asking him to get more signatures and IDs from his supporters and avail them at 3:30 p.m. Kariara literally ring to meet the deadline but did not prevail. The independent candidate protested the decision of the commission, saying it denied Kenyans an opportunity to vote for a different voice. And finally, the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission has cleared 4 presidential candidates for the August race, among them Raila Odinga and Deputy President William Ruto. Speaking after the conclusion of the registration exercise, the electoral body's chairperson Ufula Chebukati says Agano Party's David Wahega and his Roots Party counterpart Jojo Jakoya were also cleared to run. However, the nomination certificate of Umoja Summit Party presidential candidate Walter Mungare was revoked after he failed to honor summons to clarify his academic qualifications. Chebukati had early invited Mungare to shed light on his academic qualifications after Safina presidential aspirant Jimmy Wanjigi questioned how and why the commission cleared him without a degree certificate. And the 3-judge bench has lifted interim orders barring former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko from presenting his nomination papers to the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission. The judges, Justices David Majanja, Chacha Muita and Mugure Thande, set aside the orders issued in both Nairobi and Mombasa High Courts. The judges said that Sonko is free to present his nomination papers and the IEBC to decide whether to admit him or not. The 3 judges were appointed by Chief Justice Martha Koome to hear 9 petitions filed against Sonko and Kiambu Senate aspirant Karung Watangwa. Both petitions were aimed at stopping from presenting their nomination papers. These, as former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko is today expected to submit his papers at the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission to seek clearance to vie for the Mombasa governor's seat. The announcement was made by Sonko's lawyers, led by Senior Counsel John Hamino, shortly after securing a temporary order suspending IEBC's decision to him from contesting. We will be following up on that and bringing the latest in our subsequent news bulletin. Further afield, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson survived a vote of no confidence from his own Conservative MPs, but with his position weakened after a sizable number refused to back him. The Brexit figurehead called the 211 to 148 split a convincing result and a decisive result. The vote, just over 2 years after he won a landslide general election victory, was brought after a string of scandals that have left the Tory party standing in tatters. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
SpiceFM, Nyeri.
The following takes place between 6 a.m. and 10 a.m.
There's so many people peddling what is false and that it bears remarkable resemblance to what is true.
Politicians have their agenda, and their agenda is to use every opportunity to sell that agenda and to loot this nation. I have seen major strides that are done in this country when we talk to each other as against talking at each other.
We start getting back into the tribal cocoons which were put to us by the colonial powers. You know, they gave us physical freedom but not mental freedom. We're still mentally colonized today into these cocoons of tribe.
Now, if you live in an area where it's difficult to find a dog,
He's a goat. I kid you not.
In which part of this country is it difficult to find a dog? So that you resort. Afande umbo yako iko na
nini umba special.
Starting Tuesday off, and it looks like just a little bit of traffic here and there in the city. Likely we're going to see a build-up of it on Jogger Road this morning, coming off the thicker superhighway. Also starting to build up here and there. It's not going to be too crazy, at least for now. Another hour or so, and we'll see how that unfolds. Keep an eye on things as they develop through the morning. Talk to us on SpiceFM KE on Twitter and text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian.
Good morning,
Bible,
and how are you doing?
Kenyan
Welcome to
by
Kenya's
choice.
biggest conversation, The Situation Room. It's 8 minutes after 6 on the 7th day of March, 2000 and what? 22.
City has a song.
Bwana Muga,
Yes.
umeamua leo uanze kwa wimbo.
Baba, si wimbo, ilikuwa ni pambio.
Ehe.
This one is a little bit more than the song in your head.
It's a chorus, pambio.
Let me sing.
Sing what? Sing it. I don't even know the song.
No, if I sing it, jaribu ladha. It's better just hum the way I was humming it.
It's Aribu Nini?
Ladha.
Leather.
Imba bwana.
Bana, I can't find my pen.
You can't find your pen?
No.
Oh no, no. How are you going to survive?
I don't know.
Ay.
How will I do it? How will I do it? Una, good morning, no.
Good morning, how are you doing?
How your yard?
You're keeping well.
Yeah.
Very good.
Na wewe je?
Mimi pia niko salama. Nashukuru Mwenyezi Mungu.
Eric, kwa ufupi nakwambia ako bambam.
If it is chorus, he's doing the thing. In the morning.
Morning.
Yes.
Moningi.
In the morning. Pale, morning. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Kenya's biggest conversation today. So, yesterday, the Azimio campaign team was very strategic.
What they now?
Yeah.
And how?
They waited until everybody was somewhere home, chilling, relaxed, and then they unleashed their event. So, many people were either watching them on TV, watching them on their mobile devices, or listening to them on radio as they did their thing, which was unveiling their manifesto for first term if they get elected, right? Yes. And there were many things, or it was, summarized into 10-point agenda of what the Raila Karua presidency would do if they got into State House, got into Harambee House. Many of the things that they are saying, you look at them and you're like, okay, what's the difference between this and what has been said before? But yeah. Alofsita is there in the document. 1 billion shillings for the youth is there in the document. Baba Care is there in the document. Looking at manufacturing and propping up manufacturing is there in the document. And very many other things. Supporting the vulnerable is there in the document. Now, free education.
There in the document.
It becomes free up to university.
I'm telling you.
Free.
Free.
Up to university in this Kenya.
Yep.
Yeah. It's very many things. We will have a conversation around that at 7 a.m. with people who participated in writing this document. That is Professor Adam Zolo from the University of Nairobi. He's part of the Azimio think tank. Remember, Professor Adam Zolo was also among the people who were working on the BBI document, right?
Yes.
He was the vice chairperson of the BBI task force. He's there in this one now, among those who have worked on this manifesto. Then the chairman of the Azimio Presidential Campaign Board, and that's the Laikipia Governor Nderitu Mureithi, will also be here. So the two gentlemen will be joining us at 7 a.m. to have that conversation to understand, kwani kunaendaje, okay? At 9 o'clock, we'll have a conversation with Dr. Ekuru Okoh from the Third Way Alliance. He has issues, many, with the IEBC. And he's saying, I'm taking IEBC to court. Later this morning, Dr. Okoh, Jimmy Wanjege, and who else?
Kigame.
And Ruben Kigame will be addressing the media on what they feel is the unfairness being meted on them by the IEBC. IEBC imekuwa kichinjio.
Surely.
Nini mambo gani sasa? So, Dr. Okoh will be with us at 9 o'clock. At 8, we'll have a conversation about education. Now that we are talking about free education, right, City?
Yes.
And the gentleman who will be joining us is?
He is called Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa.
Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa. What does he do, Dr. Manyasa?
Well, he is an expert in education, having started his career as a teacher and the university teacher, no less, Mwalimu Mkuu. Okay? And Mwalimu Mkuu actually is headmaster.
Head teacher.
Yes, but Mwalimu. And then he ventured off into matters education, looking, probing, determining, finding out, asking questions, challenging views, challenging policies, suggesting what ought to move forward, meaning being part and parcel of the education conversation.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
He'll be with us at 8 a.m. So now, let's talk about COVID.
Okay. 18 new cases in the country. That's what we're looking at. This thing is telling me to do things that I'm not interested in doing for now.
What is this?
However,
the Twitter thingy.
Yeah.
Forget about Twitter.
It's okay. 18 new cases from a sample size of 1,397. It's a higher positivity rate than it was yesterday. Obviously, we're looking at a smaller sample size, which then is more concerning. So it gives Kenya a positivity rate of just under 6%. That's 5.9% and rising slowly. What we're looking at in terms of numbers, trying to keep it below 5. We're getting on the higher side of 5 now. It's at a time where world numbers are now at 535,912,801. That's what we're looking at in terms of numbers from around the world. Shanghai still having a bit of a problem because they're fresh lockdowns. Residents stuck inside a compound nearly a week after Shanghai's much vaunted reopening following a virus outbreak shouted at hazmat officials Monday as fears grew that some city neighborhoods were being locked down again. Authorities in the hub eased many harsh restrictions last Wednesday after confining most of the city's 25 million people or inhabitants to their homes since late March as China battled its worst COVID outbreak in 2 years. But hundreds of thousands have not yet been allowed out of their homes, while others have immediately been placed back under local lockdown after a brief liberation that triggered shopping sprees and booze-fueled street parties. So downtown Zuhu on Monday it was witnessed a dozen people in fenced-off housing shouting angrily at the officials to let them out and saying, "Save or serve the people." Tempers flared, asking that people be let out, but government officials have decided that for now, certain areas which are the opposite of low risk will remain under lockdown. So that's what's happening there. Not yet out of the woods, and they're saying in terms of numbers, they're still in a sticky spot. So until then, those lockdowns will continue. Nothing official has come out just yet in terms of what the lockdown situation is. However, people are not being allowed out.
The people were saying there are fears. How can there be fears? It's either there's a lockdown or there's no lockdown.
Yeah. So some are saying that this is it, that because there's no official statement yet, there are fears that there will be an official statement in the coming days that, look, guys, we're going to shut things down across board once again.
So what exactly is happening here? Is it that people do not want to be locked down again? They've enjoyed this freedom, they've enjoyed this sense of normalcy, and they don't want it? Or is it that the communication isn't clear from the government? I mean, what is?
So there was jubilation after the month-long lockdown. There was jubilation that people finally would be able to get out. Remember, we're talking about Shanghai, which is cosmopolitan, but then it's also a melting pot in terms of countries, right? It's not just the Chinese. And because it's a financial hub, you have quite a lot of people who are doing business, etc. So when the lockdown, then restrictions eased, everybody was happy, business going back slowly, etc. But then there's certain parts that are not being allowed to come back into circulation. So yes, they're a bit upset that if there is speculation that there will be yet another lockdown, people are already wary of it. And they're anticipating that there will be communication from government that, actually we're going into another 2 weeks, 4 weeks of lockdown.
Anyway, we're live streaming the show on SpiceFM KE, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. 17 minutes after 6. If you are online, you know what to do. If you don't know what to do, get online and say hello to us. We'll be doing a roll call shortly and acknowledging everybody who's awake this morning.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah!
You're listening to Spice FM.
Are you a recruiter looking for the ideal candidate? What if we told you there's an easier, faster, and unbiased way to hire? Forget all the time wasting and costly hiring mistakes and instead focus on reviewing the best suited candidates from the start. Sounds good, right? We offer you a seamless recruitment portal and access to our thousands of job seeker profiles to suit your hiring needs. In just a few clicks, you will be able to select the best candidates ranked by real data. Sign up today by visiting jobs.digga.co.ke and start your journey to efficient and effective hiring.
Looking at mostly cloudy conditions in Nairobi this morning, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15. In Nakuru, it's 14 degrees and clear, highs of 24. We'll see highs of 22 in Nyeri, where it's raining at 14, and mostly clear conditions at 12 in Eldoret, highs of 21 and lows of 12. It's raining in Mombasa at 23, highs of 28, and we'll see highs of 28 in Malindi, where it's raining as well at 25. Kisumu is clear at 17, highs of 28 and lows of 17 today, while it's clear in Kakamega at 16. It'll go to highs of 25. We're looking at clear conditions in Kampala at 18, highs of 26, and we'll see highs of 31 in Dar es Salaam, where it's mostly cloudy at 23, and that'll be today's low. Johannesburg is clear at 6, highs of 19 and lows of 4 today, really chilly conditions, and mostly clear in Lagos at 25. It'll go to highs of 31. 31 will also be the high in a clear Kinshasa, currently at 22. Out in Beijing, it's raining at 24. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 16 going into early afternoon Tuesday. And Paris is mostly cloudy at 16 with highs of 23. We'll see lows of 14. London is clear at 13, highs of 19 and lows of 13. And New York, still Monday night, is clear at 21. We'll see highs of 27 and lows of 17.
Are you ready? Okay.
Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
It's 20 minutes after 6. Good morning.
Mornings done right.
So,
94 point.
Yeah.
Who's that?
Dave says, getting you loud and clear from Northwest Territory. He's in Australia. He says, please look for Nyambane to comment on the being delisted from IBC. Shocks, indeed. Quite shocking in terms of what happened over the last few hours. Eddie Odor says, good morning, Situation Room. I have been reading a copy of Ryla's Manifesto and I like it because it promises so many things which will not be implemented. It only gives... It only gives us hopes, but no guarantees. Just, good on paper. Eddie, good morning. Jonathan Nyinya says, good morning. He's tuning from Kisumu. Kimilili is well tuned this morning. Carter says, good morning. The only way to start your day, indeed. Good morning and welcome to the Situation Room. Mr. CT had a deeper meaning. That one. Benapudo said, Sigomere. Sigomere is where?
That is in Uganda, where your neck of the woods.
Sigomere is listening.
Oh, you kwenu.
Oh, mijui mimi.
Kama we nakwenda Busia. Napita Ugunja. Si Unguja, Ugunja. That road.
Yes. You'll find Sigomere on the way. I was going to say Sigomere.
Well, you are on the right track.
Thank you. Michael Gitao says, good morning. Feels great to be back on FB Live. What had happened? On radio felt so cold. Really? Well, it's good you have that option. Good morning, people. That's Kitty Chip Kosgei and Kibagendi Lorna says, good morning as well. Ombonya Eric says, good morning from Rarieda Sub-County. Ron Onik says he's also tuned in. He's tuning from Langata. Spicing up Mombasa is where Robert is. And Berin Ogema says, good morning, tuned and locked. Good morning to the big family. I'd love to say hello to Eric. Specifically, Westlands is tuned. Sabal Harry, that's Kip Koech, says good morning. And tuning from Doha, Olemwai is tuned in this morning. Frederick Sumuko is tuned in from where? From somewhere. And he says Eric is his role model. Eric, today, how far now? Getting
that?
you, Frederick.
Okay.
Eric, just receive the greetings and thank them.
Thank you.
Voila. David says, good morning. He's tuning from Bungoma. And Stone Chorus says he's also tuned in as well. He says, Movin, good morning, Situation. When everyone else who is online, please let us continue embracing peace during this election campaign period.
Indeed. Very, very, very important. City Muga, are we still in Moroni?
We are still in the Comoros. The last proverb for the day. Yes, the capital city of the Comoros is Moroni. Yes. A thread follows the path of the needle.
A thread follows the path of the needle. Getting the thread into the needle, however,
it is easier for a camel to go through the eye of a needle and for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven.
Okay.
Anyway, the thread follows the needle.
Okay.
The thread follows the path of the needle. Safsana.
Thread on its own.
Not going anywhere.
Attached needle.
Going somewhere.
Very effective.
It goes.
Does wonders.
Yes.
Does wonders. Fixes buttons. Fixes human beings. Fixes all sorts of things.
Indeed.
Thank you, City. Let's look at the newspaper headlines, all right? www.standardmedia.co.ke. Premium content promoted online. Today, what the Standard Group is promoting is a different one. Steve-O Simple Boy. This is a musician. You know Steve-O Simple Boy? Safi Barida, Freshy Barida.
City knows him.
Yeah, City knows Steve-O Simple Boy. Steve-O Simple Boy is telling a story of my schoolmates died from drug abuse. He's attracted masses with his catchy tunes, but underneath it all lies a sad, dark past. Tells the story why he has actually come up with a song like Vijana tuwache miadarati, Vijana tuwache miadarati. It's because he has seen what miadarati can do.
What's that?
Miadarati? Illicit drugs.
Okay.
Make sure you put the word illicit.
Okay.
So, let's look at the headlines. What are you looking at?
On page 6, the Standard headline. IEBC kicks out, air quotes, jokers in race for president. Out of 57 people who began the journey to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta, only 4 got clearance from Chairman Wafula Chebukati to vie, dealing a big blow to independents and others who failed to meet the basic requirements. Indeed, we saw over 50 aspirants and only 4 by the end of yesterday are now candidates. That was interesting because, we spoke to one in the morning and he was all right. And then a few hours later, things changed. The subheads: some 57 aspirants had initially sought to succeed President Kenyatta. All the 47 independent presidential candidates fell along the way. All the independent candidates, or rather aspirants, fell along the way. There is not a single independent aspirant who was cleared.
Independence is expensive.
It would appear so. The Electoral Commission has cleared only 4 presidential candidates for the August 9th elections. This is the least number of presidential aspirants the country had seen since 1992, when multi-party politics was introduced. Initially, 57 aspirants had sought to succeed President Uhuru Kenyatta, but by yesterday, the number had been whittled down to 4. Comedian and former radio personality Walter Mongare, I skipped a bit there. The 4 are Deputy President William Ruto, Azimio candidate Raila Odinga, Roots Party Professor George Wajakoya, and Agano Party leader Wahiga Mwaura. Comedian and former radio personality Walter Mongare, famously known as Nyambane, had initially been cleared, but a mishap led to cancellation of his certificate. He was vying on an Umoja Summit Party ticket. Notably, all the 47 independent presidential aspirants fell along the way, majority failing to have the requisite 2,000 signatures in the majority of the counties. Professor Wajakoya, a lawyer who had practiced in Kenya and in the US, was the first to be cleared by the IEBC. His running mate is Justina Wamboi Wamai. He has promised to clear Kenya's loans through the sale.
Start again.
He has promised
to clear Kenya's loans through the sale of
marijuana. And to reduce working days from Monday to Thursday.
Okay.
Monday to
Thursday. Please. I've been doing very well.
No,
please.
I laugh because it seems funny, yet it isn't funny.
No, it really isn't.
No.
Europe has gone this route.
Yes, they have. Absolutely.
This 8-hour day, forget 6.
And they've actually just implemented it in some countries, and there's a little bit of, how are we going to be able to do this?
France took a lead on this one.
Yeah, they did. Shall I continue?
Yeah. Yes, continue.
All right. Before his certificate was cancelled, Mongare was the second to be cleared, then Mware, a senior counsel. On Saturday and Sunday, Ruto and Raila were cleared respectively. A statement by the IEBC chair, Wafula Chebukati, noted that they had finalised the registration of presidential candidates, which he presided over as the returning officer of the presidential elections. He noted that 13 candidates did not meet the requisite constitutional and statutory requirements and were therefore unsuccessful. The list included Mongare, businessman Jimmy Wanjigi of Safina Party, Justice Juma, Justice and Freedom Party, Njeru Kathangu, Ford Asili, Dr. Ikuru Okot, Third Way Alliance, Peter Kingori of an independent, and Juliet Munyeki, another independent. Others were independent candidates: Eliud Muthiora, Dorothy Keminto, Gibson Nganga, George Munyota, Jeremiah Nyaga, and James Kamau. So he said that according to Regulation 43 of the election regulations, it provides that a returning officer shall hold the nomination paper invalid on grounds that the candidate is not qualified to be or is disqualified by law to have been nominated or elected to the elective post for which nomination is sought. So everybody was asking what happened with Mongare's certificate. Chebukati said it was revoked because he failed to have certified his academic credentials. And he says, as the returning officer for the presidential election, upon discovery of new information on Walter Ochonga Mangare's lack of academic qualifications, I invited him to appear before me today at 2 p.m. to clarify the issue. He failed to honor my invitation, and pursuant to the same regulation, I hereby revoke the nomination certificate of Walter Ochonga Mongare of Umoja Summit Party dated June the 2nd. He was last Monday the first candidate to officially be cleared on the race to State House. Chebukati made the move to revoke his nomination after the commission disqualified Safina Party presidential aspirant Jimmy Wanjigi for presenting transcripts instead of a degree certificate. So it was a tumultuous day at Bomas yesterday. We saw also that Jimmy Wanjigi was not a happy camper at all, and he's expressed this in no, slight words, in no uncertain terms. He made his displeasure known to everybody. And
so that whole list of 55, it was
57,
has now come down to 4.
Yes, 53 have been found wanting, and by virtue of the want, they have been declared unfit to vie. So they will not be certified. It is the lowest number of presidential candidates since 1992.
Anyway, in the next election, you'll have more because people will have known. Unless they add something new, all you need is copies of IDs, they'll get.
They'll start getting it now.
Yep.
There's a fellow who burnt his ID, his voting card, and he made an allegation that these IDs are even being sold here on Harambe Avenue. People are selling their IDs and their copies, but we went and did the due diligence. We went around county by county and we did the right thing. And you as IEBC are still locking the door on us. This country is going to the dogs, he said.
Muthiora was in the last election as well as a running mate for Professor Kalweyu. This time, he says, a young boy from Kawangware with nothing has been locked out just because he is nobody and he is nothing.
Okay.
And for that reason, he burnt his voter's card. I didn't know that there were voters' cards.
Well, there are carryover. There were voters' cards. They are in existence.
But you don't use it anywhere.
No, you don't need them.
So Muthiora will still vote.
But the drama is useful.
Okay.
Yes.
28 minutes to 7. Let's take a look at traffic.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Hey, have you heard about Mbuzi24.com?
Mbuzi what? No! What is it?
Mbuzi24.com delivers farm fresh products such as meat, cheese, eggs, herbs, and more straight to your door. Fresh and reasonably priced. And imagine, it's free delivery.
Mbuzi24.com. Farm fresh food. Order now and get free delivery in Nairobi. Goat meat only 545 Kenya shillings per kilogram.
Are you looking for employment and are tired of sending job applications without any response? Gone with no response? Tarmacking is now a thing of the past thanks to Skiza. Dial *811 *1 *21 hash and subscribe to a ringback.
It's building up on the Thika Superhighway this morning, and we're looking at just past the Utali Drift, heading out towards the Pangani underpass. Not looking too crazy on Kiambu Road, but we can see the signs. You know how when your eye starts to twitch, you can tell if somebody's going to be angry, if they're going to blow up. Well, Kiambu Road's eye is twitching this morning, and it looks like it's going to get cray. Just keep an eye on that one. Just if you're on Kiambu Road this morning, you might want to think about moving a little bit faster to get out of what is likely to come up from that. All right, into the CBDs where we see some action coming off of the Nyeri Stadium roundabout. We're looking at Aerodrome also picking up some traffic. And this is coming off Langata Road, which is already looking crazy as you get to that new, almost to be completed, maybe not quite yet in 2024 kind of thing, interchange. But we'll keep an eye on things, at least for now. Jogo Road in and outbound traffic is already starting, and we're looking at the same thing happening on Landis Road as you get to the Kamkunji roundabout. Haile Selassie Avenue for the first time in a while is looking good, but let's keep an eye on that and see what happens in a little bit. Mombasa Road looks good. Imara, outbound traffic. There's a bit of a hold up there, not quite sure because that construction finished. Unless people are just used to traffic being there, so they just naturally slow down and there's always traffic there. Yeah? Yeah. Okay, let's take a look in half hour and see what it looks like. Talk to us before then. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this Tuesday.
Spice FM, Malindi. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings
All right,
done
25
right.
minutes to 7 City. What are you looking at?
I'm looking at an article in the Business Daily. Page 3. Focus food safety needs to cut rising health costs. The article is written by a certain gentleman with the name of Dr. Alan Liavoga. Okay? Now, the summation of what this article is stating is as follows. That foodborne diseases, not airborne, foodborne diseases, a wide range of illnesses. Foodborne diseases encompass a wide range of diseases from diarrhea to cancers that are caused by contaminated foods. Okay? Now, one of the things that happened in the UN was they announced in 2018 that every 7th of June 7th every year, it'll be World Food Safety Day. Okay? Now, this is
today.
Okay. Appropriately, today.
Okay.
The idea behind this was to create awareness on food safety. Okay? Now, this year's theme is Safer Food, Better Health. Okay? Now, one may wonder, but safer food, what do you mean? Well, food safety has to do not just with the growing of things that we consume, but how they are grown, what is added to them, the environment in which they are grown, and also the determination through testing whether when they are finally produced that they are actually fit for human consumption. There's the view that all you need is a seed, you grow it, and it's ready for consumption. Sometimes that is not entirely true. Sometimes the seeds that people have may be the problem or the initiator of a problem that later brings about ailments that they themselves would argue that they didn't have before.
Okay.
Yes. So safety also has to do with
the seed.
The seed, with the consumption, with the amounts, with how it is grown, with where it is grown. All these, the ecosystem within which we find our food, that encompasses food safety. Yes. What I'm wondering is, and why I chose this particular article, is why they haven't shouted about it loudly enough. Why? One of the things that we have as one of the 4 pillars that this particular administration talked about was food safety, if I'm not wrong. Now, if the UN has delegated a day, which is today, for food safety, should this not be a day when there's a lot of conversation regarding the measures we have taken, the measures we plan to take, the things we ought to do? And should the Agriculture Ministry not be at the forefront of talking about this, creating greater and greater awareness? That yes, here we are harping on ensuring that we have food security, but there's the element of food safety.
Food safety.
Yes, which we also need to talk about, so that the conversation begins and people become aware.
So this is where we also talk about the aflatoxins and all.
Yeah,
so
that's where we talk about
harvesting and handling, post-harvest handling.
Yes, precisely. This is where we talk about fertilizers. This is where we talk about everything to do with the production of food, that whole chain.
And GMO.
That
is the one. That's a hot one. Talking about food, cooking oil crisis deepens as firm shuts due to lack of raw materials. The cost of cooking oil is expected to further go up after one of the country's largest edible oil manufacturers temporarily shut its operations due to lack of crucial raw materials. Pwani Oil announced yesterday that it would stop production, adding to the current crisis in which prices of cooking oil have gone beyond the reach of most Kenyans. Cooking oil is one of the items that has burrowed the deepest hole in the pockets of Kenyans. Before prices of cooking oil began rising, a 5-litre jar of fresh fry cooking oil was retailing at below 1,000 shillings in 2020. Currently, 5 litres of fresh fry cooking oil goes for 2,104. Is that correct? Or should I ask them where they're getting this cheaper one from?
No, it's around there. 5 litres? Yes. Yes. In fact, that's what it is right now.
More than double its price in 2020.
Absolutely.
Brands like Captain Cook and Brinson are retailing at 25.80, 25.30.
Yeah.
The situation is expected to worsen with the closure of Pwani Oil Refinery, known for fresh fry, Salit cooking oil brands. The company has also blamed the situation on shortage of US dollars to purchase palm oil, which is the main raw material for manufacturing cooking oil. So you saw this statement from Pwani Oil yesterday, where their commercial director Rajul Malde said global supply chains have been severely impacted by the Russia-Ukraine conflict And then some countries such as Indonesia, where Kenya imports close to half of its palm, are said to have suspended exports of palm oil, although they have announced they are going to lift that suspension, right? There are several issues that were raised here. One is the issue of course, the constraints in the supply chain, the global supply chain, and two, the access to dollars.
The access to dollar issue is seeming to be one that is overriding a lot more. But please go ahead.
No, I'm just... please, continue.
The access to dollar issue seems to be one that is affecting quite a lot of people, not just in this retail sector. That the dollars, the rates have actually gone much higher than. So obviously you're having to spend shilling in order to get dollar, and that you have to buy this commodity in foreign currency, and it's turning out to be an issue. What confuses me is that had it got so bad, if this is being one of the reasons that this decision is being pegged on, had it gotten so bad that an entire refinery needs to shut down?
That is where my questions lie as well. This is one organization that is basically saying we are stopping operations because we have no access to dollars, which we need to import. And you see, the global market is very competitive. If we don't have dollars at hand, then we are... I'm like, okay, wait. Who else is facing this?
Are they the only people who buy in dollars? I thought everybody who imports things in this country imports
in foreign currency. Absolutely.
Importing foreign currency.
Everyone.
Yes.
And there are those that are importing on a monthly basis. For example, oil marketing companies.
What I also find interesting is, are they saying that the reserves that they had for their manufacturing has been depleted? And if so, I'd like to know how long are the reserves? Because this is an ongoing concern. They have a fast-moving product. Okay? So what is the strategic plan for ensuring that they always have the product that people buy from them? Or are you saying they buy it on a weekly basis so that 1 week, a month, 2 months down the line, they have absolutely nothing and they cannot move?
They could argue that, they've now depleted their reserves.
Yes, they could. They could. But if you understand international trade, one of the things that people do, if you have a long-standing arrangement with a supplier, there's a mention here that part of the problem is the delayed payments. But if they're delayed payments, restructure it. It's a business. There are very many tools that people use for businesses.
Who delayed paying who?
That they, because of the reduced supply of dollars, they do not pay their supplier. They will not be able to pay on time. And this is causing
and the
a bit of a problem.
suppliers told them, guys, market is competitive.
The argument makes sense if you look at it just as the argument. But the moment you throw in a background and you look at all other intervening factors, then other questions also begin to arise. Because I would have assumed that any business that imports, that relies on whatever it produces on importations, would have been complaining in the same way. It can't be that only one player in the market has been hit by this problem.
Yeah, and then, this one is unless there was something else, there were other problems, other challenges that this organization was facing. And then they've gotten to a point and they've said, okay, so we are shutting down this particular plant. Remember, Pony Oil doesn't only do this.
No, they do many other things.
They also do soap. They do many other things.
The central bank has the last say on this issue of shortage of foreign currency. It would be good if the central bank could actually wade in and tell us what the situation is like.
Or maybe the central bank just said, we're not going to respond to everyone who's talking about Sharia.
Yes. The Bankers Association are in a position to comment also.
If other importers are not complaining, well, but we know when we've it was even confirmed by the Kenya Bankers Association that yes, there's a challenge with the supply and demand for the dollar.
Yes.
It was expected to taper down by now.
Yeah, but was the supply issue a factor of inadequacy of the actual currency, or was it due to speculation? Because when the dollar was doing its yo-yo, it's at 116, it's at 120. Those who deal in such matters will hold the dollar waiting for it to rise. I mean, there's a situation, yes. The situation we have in the world right now warrants this sort of uncertainty. But does it warrant a situation where you have to shut down? And if that is really what you have to do, I would like to know a little bit more about this before I can conclude.
I'm sorry, but for me, it doesn't seem the reason as to why an entire plant has to shut down.
No, it's just part of it.
I think it's just a little. I think it's a little part of it. I think that you're just seeing the tip of the iceberg here, and that there could be something else. But it's an easy blame. The dollar shortage or the dollar difficulty is an easy blame, without having to then shed light on what the real issue could be.
Yep. Bottom line though is bei mafuta na panda.
It's interesting because also yesterday, Indonesia now said, the 3-week ban on exports then has come to an end.
Yeah.
So it's likely.
So at least
it's likely to see an ease on this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You want me to continue?
Yes.
Okay. It's interesting, this story. We've heard it all before, right? But I just thought it was interesting because DP Ruto, he's talking to the women specifically yesterday during this rally that they had. And he said he is confident that UDA will produce Kenya's first woman president in the coming years. Not this year, but
of course not.
Later. He was speaking during the launch of the UDA Women's League at a Nairobi hotel Sunday night. The DP said his party is banking on the support of women to win the August 9th poll. So you support us, we will win. And then in the next few years, you will be what? You'll be president.
Yep.
He said UDA is a women's party. It has the largest representation of women across the board. All opinion polls indicate UDA is the most popular party in Kenya and has a record majority of women. He said that UDA had registered 1,060 women aspirants, not by default, but by design. I have more women supporters than men. Even pollsters have told me so. The DP said he has the biggest support of women's enterprise. He added that his wife, none other than Rachel Ruto, told him about table banking under the Joyful Women organization.
Okay, yes.
Joyful Women, Joyful, yeah. He knew what men can do. Women can do it better. Had his wife not told him, he would not have known this. Out of personal experience, I can confirm there are things women can do better than men, and therefore the more we keep them out of governance, the more we lose. I can commit that as leaders of UDA, women will be there to lead. So it's interesting that this female conversation is taking, flight, and it's wind assisted now by very many.
Yep.
Many talk about the Martha effect having then invited more and more conversations around this. But it seems that everybody now wants to be in the center of that conversation. That look, the women agenda, we're there. So don't even worry about a thing.
If I may just chime in. Huh?
Yeah.
I'm looking at the Business Daily, and the central bank governor, Dr. Njoroge Aki, did have something to say.
On the dollar shortage?
He did. He maintained that, and I'm reading, that foreign exchange market transacts about 2 billion of US currency every month, which he indicated, that's Dr. Njoroge, was enough to meet demands for imports and corporates for payments like dividends. That's what he said. That's the position.
So there's no shortage.
He said, look, he was asked this last Tuesday, and he said, no, look, these issue of persistent dollar shortages triggered by the emergence of a parallel exchange, he said, no, we are telling you that this is a situation that we have. That is the position of the central bank. However, the demand for dollars locally has gone up significantly this year in line with surging import following the full reopening of the economy, which has unleashed pent-up demand for both consumer and capital goods after a lull tied to COVID-19 disruptions. This is where the issue has come in. Now, according to Mr. Malde, at the moment, he says, based on the inflows from banks, we are only able to source about 500,000 US and $1 million US a day against a payment of 2 to 2.5 million US dollars per day.
So they need more than they can access.
They need more than they can access because the demand for what we already have has gone up because there was a lull. Now there's pressure.
Everybody is importing.
Yes.
But I think there's a truth to the issue of constraints in accessing the dollar.
Yes, there is.
There is.
I mean, that is there. And much as the central bank governor is saying, look, come on, we can't have that development of a black market. We can't have a black market. Maybe he's managing the situation and the narrative.
It's his job. It's his job. It's his job.
Yeah.
But look, sometimes the shutting down of even a branch of a certain enterprise is just strategic. You weigh, you look, and you ask yourself, so that we can continue functioning optimally, what do we do?
What do we do?
And you say, okay, this is what can go down. But something else came to my mind. This shortage proves that there's an opportunity here. Where do you get palm oil from? Where does it come from?
The one I use in my house.
No, the palm oil kawaida we import. Where do you get it from?
These ones that we're getting from Kina, Indonesia.
Yes,
Indonesia,
yes. Where do they get it from? Does it grow on trees?
Yes, it does.
Yes, exactly. And those trees are called?
Palm trees.
Yeah, can they be grown?
They can. They're grown in West Africa. I thought you were saying the one I use in my house, I get it from Nigeria.
No. Eric, you've got where I'm going with this.
I get what you're saying. It's interesting because yesterday we look at this article or even some of the things that were said that, look, if the thing that is the bane of your existence that you used to cry every day, what stops you then from growing the damn thing yourself?
Yes.
We know that the palm fruit tree, which is where we get, not the palm coconut, the palm fruit tree is where we get palm oil from, right? It grows in your tropical area.
And we are in a tropical place. We are tropics itself. Tropics.
Garrett?
You know, once upon a time, before synthetics became the norm, rubber, R-U-B-B-E-R,
got it,
was domiciled in Latin America. That's where you got most rubber this, rubber that, rubber the other. And it was a protected plant. Somewhere along the line, somebody got the idea and realized, these rubber, these rubber barons seem to have their cake and they're actually eating it. So something very simple. Simply stole, because you're not allowed to import it, and took it to Southeast Asia.
And started planting the thing.
That was the end of that story.
Yep.
There are cities that collapsed because their entire economy was based on rubber. Not rubber. Okay?
They robbed the rubber.
Yes. The same story is told of tea. So what am I saying? I am saying an opportunity has presented itself. Why can we not grow the thing? Why can we not understand? Why can't we be self-contained? As some of my colleagues who I used to work with used to say, that when you're able to get everything you need, you're self-contained.
It's true, man.
Anyway.
We'll find out.
And the beat goes on.
Of course. Operation happening in Marsabit.
Yes.
Right? People have been killing each other willy-nilly. And the government, after serious pressure, decided, let's launch a serious operation here to mop up firearms. The government has recovered 200 illegal guns in the ongoing Operation Rejesha Amani in Marsabit County. Also recovered from the bandits in the operation that started a month ago are 3,000 bullets, a grenade and assorted bayonets. Interior CS Fred Matiang'i said yesterday that the government is targeting to recover 5,000 illegal guns. He announced a 30-day extension of the ongoing 6 p.m. to 5 a.m. curfew, saying most of the clashes in the area were politically motivated and not spontaneous hostility between communities. He blamed the past skewed hiring of chiefs in the county for incessant clashes that have claimed hundreds of lives. Even if we have to continue with this operation past the general election, we are committed to the same since we are pursuing lasting peace for the benefit of all residents of Marsabit. Accompanied by the IG of Police, Hilary Mutyambai, Eastern Regional Commissioner Evans Achoki, Matiang'i said politicians had in the past influenced the hiring of chiefs who were then beholden to act on the wishes of their patrons. Several things here. One, this operation has only recovered 200 firearms in 3 weeks with a curfew, with some serious work, and they have a target of 5,000. Okay? Nobody has been arrested for being behind the arming of the people and everything else. If they are not spontaneous hostility, they are politically motivated. So who is a political motivator? And where are they? Are they behind bars? Are they not? If the chiefs have previously been hired due to political leaning and clan leaning, so who's behind that? And how does the government vet who it's hiring as chiefs? So yesterday, CS Matiang'i said, we are going to retrain our chiefs, our administration officials, so that we bring them to par with everybody else in the country, so that they stop this of theirs.
I have one more question to add to that one.
Yes, when you finish, let me know so that I can also add mine.
From whom are these illegal firearms being confiscated? Is it the locals who have decided that they're going to arm themselves, or the actual bandits who are stealing these heads of cattle?
The actual bandits and the locals are same.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay. I'm just asking.
I would like to know.
I've finished, please.
Personally, I would like to know. The 200, good, it's 200. It's 200 less. Whether they work, they don't work, whether they found them lying, that's not, but they're 200. Okay? What is the proliferation of firearms in that region? Okay?
When they're targeting 5,000, it tells you.
Against what?
They're targeting
5,000.
5,000 illegal guns.
Yes. Against what? What is readily available? And also, the narrative that we keep hearing of SACCOs and chamas formed to buy firearms, just like people do what we call them chango.
Yep.
People changa to buy a communal firearms. Are they telling us that they're stemming the tide of these firearms that cross our borders into our country? And it's not just in Marsabit, but we're talking about the areas of Pokot, they're talking about the Kerio Valley. Without telling us the numbers of firearms that are there, the illicit firearms, because the ones which are not illicit, they know the numbers because the government registers them.
They know the numbers.
So anything else that is not registered is illicit. How many are they?
One would assume that when the CS says we are targeting to mop up 5,000, that is a number.
No, I'm not going to assume.
That is the number that they say. We know there are 5,000 illegal firearms here. We are going to go for them, after them. Okay? So, the questions that you're asking are actually legit questions, because the other thing is, when communities are coming together to contribute to buy firearms, because that's what we've heard is happening.
Yes.
It's because of insecurity.
Yes.
Has this insecurity been addressed?
Yes.
For people to hand in their firearms and to stay safe and to sit without any need for acquiring a firearm in the future, they need to have a sense of security.
That acquisition of firearm tells you that the local communities have decided to take the matter in their own hands.
Yes.
That's what they're telling you. And if they have bought, are they going to surrender these firearms? Because they didn't go through the normal processes
to get them.
No.
Then they just give you.
They're not going to give it to you.
No.
And these things are costly. 80,000, 100,000,
Yeah.
Then they give you.
Some really sophisticated 150,000. They're not going to give it to you.
They just give you a firearm because you came
and said. And
you asked nicely.
Yeah. We work in security
They'll
for the
give
country
G3.
and we ask that you hand them over. No, it's not going to happen like that.
So, these are questions. If we're talking about full disclosure, these are things that we must be told, because then we can see we're making progress. If we do not know the numbers of firearms that are out there, then even if you told us you've collected 10,000, I'll still be asking the same question.
How many more are left?
How many more are left?
Yeah. Yeah. He says Marsabit County has many more security officers than 80% of other counties in the country.
Marsabit County is the size of very many counties put together. It is a really vast area and sparsely populated.
Yeah.
So getting these things, truth be told, is difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
This one, anyway. At the same time, though, as we conclude, Interior CS Matiang'i was in where? Marsabit. His PS, Dr. Kibicho, was somewhere in Kiangema Girls Secondary School, Embu West Sub-County. And he said, some of these election promises that you're hearing, some of them could cause a revolution. If I was not in church, I would have said they have become mad, these people, with the promises they're giving you. We should be very careful how we process some of these promises. He wanted the government will continue to tighten security as the political temperatures rise with election day fast approaching. We are watching and will take a decisive action. Let's not have apologies for people who want to destroy our beautiful country. Elections will come and go. I know there are deliberate efforts to gag some of us, but we will not tire. We are saying you must go out there and look for leaders with integrity, who preach peace, humility, and who can listen to you. Okay? In the next hour, we are going to talk about political promises that were made yesterday by the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya Alliance presidential candidate and his running mate in the Azimio Manifesto. Joining us in the studio are two people who literally wrote.
They did. Just go with it.
Literally wrote this thing.
Right.
Good morning, it's 7 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Dennis Aseto. Azimio One Kenya Coalition Party presidential candidate Raila Odinga launched a 10-point manifesto where, among other things, it pledged to declare corruption a threat to national security in the first 100 days. To this effect, Odinga vowed to establish a corruption surveillance task force in the security forces within the first 100 days of being sworn in as the duly elected fifth president of Kenya.
We will declare corruption a threat to national security and establish a specialized department in the security agencies for corruption surveillance. This we shall do within our first 100 days in office. As the new government wants to face this dragon called corruption head-on to ensure that we can be able to do our things in a clean and fair manner. Kenya has a great potential. Kenya is a great country surrounded by neighbors with whom we want to work very closely. We are going to work towards the creation of East African Federation.
He stated that his government intends to hit the ground running and implement interventionist policies that reduce the cost of living from day one.
We will review the cost of living with special focus on fuel, unga, mobile data, and energy. We will initiate implementation of universal healthcare insurance, Babacare, education. We will ensure all unemployed trained teachers are absorbed.
His manifesto also focused on the manufacturing sector, agriculture, healthcare, and support for the small and medium enterprises.
Manufacturing. We will waive regulatory and other licensing fees for new youth-led innovations. We will review immigration laws with regard to potential investors in manufacturing to attract foreign direct investment to the country. We will give incentives to Kenyans, including diaspora and foreigners, to invest in manufacturing. In energy, we will set a roadmap to reduction in cost of energy.
His running mate Master Karua said the ticket is about a new beginning and restoring dignity to all Kenyans through health, education, economy, and ensuring no one is left behind.
It is about getting the necessary attention and resources to change the lives of all Kenyans. It's about an inclusive and holistic approach to governance to ensure that the young, the old, male and female, formally or informally employed, rural or urban, have a say in the stake of the land.
Presidential aspirant Muthiora Kiriara burnt his voters card at the Bomas of Kenya after the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission declined to register him for the August elections. According to the poll body's chairperson Wafula Chebukati, this was due to the insufficient signatures that Kiriara presented. On the first attempt, IEBC turned him away, asking him to get more signatures and IDs from his supporters, and failed them at 3 p.m. yesterday. Kiriara literally ran to meet the deadline but did not prevail. The independent candidate protested the decision of the commission, saying it denied Kenyans an opportunity to vote for a different voice. And a 3-judge bench has lifted interim orders barring former Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko from presenting his nomination papers to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission. The Justices David Majanja, Chacha Mwite and Mugure Thande set aside the orders issued in both Nairobi and Mombasa High Courts. The judges said that Sonko is free to present his nomination papers and it's IEBC to decide whether to admit him or not. The 3 judges were appointed by the Chief Justice Martha Koome to hear 9 petitions filed against Sonko and Kiambu Senate aspirant Karongo Waithanga. Both petitions were aimed at stopping them from presenting their nomination papers. The bench consequently directed that the petitions be heard on June 9th. These, as Mike Sonko is today expected to submit his papers at the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to seek clearance to vie for the Mombasa governor's seat. The announcement was made by Sonko's lawyers led by Senior Counsel John Haminwa shortly after securing a temporary order suspending IEBC's decision to him from contesting. One of the lawyers of the Ombaso said that vying for Mombasa governor's seat is Sonko's fundamental right and that cannot be wished away. He further claimed that impeachment is a political procedure and cannot be equated to criminal procedure or any other process. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Aseto. Good morning.
building up with traffic, and unfortunately, an accident happened on Waiakiwe this morning, and it's holding up traffic. Unfortunately, it's a fatal one. So if you're approaching, coming from region, watch out for that. You might want to use an alternate route, at least for now, until that is sorted out. There's serious mist all the way from Limuru to Naivasha, all the way. Please be extremely careful. That Kimende route as well. The clouds are really low and visibility is very poor. You want to use your lights and then you want to slow down so that we don't have any incidents this morning. So watch out for that. Let's come back into the city where it's building up on the Thika Superhighway. Getting into the city is going to be an absolute mess today. Somehow it waits until just 7:01 and then the Thika Superhighway becomes madness. We're looking at all the way well into Kiambu County today, and Kiambu Road is already doing that thing it did yesterday. Let's keep an eye out for that, as well as Limuru Road, which is already looking crazy. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. It looks like it's going to be a busy Tuesday. Let's talk there and text on 40127.
This is the Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is
7 minutes after 7
Room,
on the
the
7th
only way
day of the 6th month of 2022. Well, we are there between March and June. Yeah, we're just somewhere there. We're floating. It's either March or it's June, depending on the day. We have two guests in the studio. We'll be talking about the Azimio Manifesto that was launched last evening. The presidential candidate Raila Odinga addressing a gathering at Nyeri National Stadium, and which was beamed live on TV and radio and online. And everybody was talking about it. So we'll be looking at, okay, so what exactly does it mean? But before we welcome the guests, the day's proverb, CT.
Yes, so this is the last proverb from the Comoros.
Okay.
A thread follows the path of the needle.
A thread follows the path of the needle. Thread here.
Needle there.
Needle there. Needle goes, thread follows.
Yes. Together they are here and there. Yes.
Okay. The assumption, of course, here is that the thread is threaded into the needle.
Yes, that has to be the assumption. Because the thread on its own, it'll be on its own. The needle on its own, again, will be on its own. It'll just be a needle. In the absence of the thread, well, let's put it this way, its use will be brought into question. Yes.
Okay. His Excellency Derito Mureithi is the governor of Laikipia County. He's also the chair of the Azimio Presidential Campaign Board. He's with us in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning, Eric.
Good to have you again on the show.
Well, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
Morning, do.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Professor Adam Zolo, we've invited the man a number of times, and now today, Hayawi.
Hua.
Mushowe Hua. Professor Adam Zolo.
Yes? For this purpose, it can be June. Yes.
Closing the financial year on a high. Professor Adam Zolo is from the University of Nairobi, Department of Political Science. The two gentlemen who are in the studio participated in crafting the Azimio Manifesto. Am I right?
You're right. Although the professor, takes lead. As the needle and the thread.
Professor was the needle.
He's the needle.
Professor inputted. This is a collective effort.
Sasa unaona watu wa Azimio are humble before they take power.
Wow.
Blow.
Tunaonea 18. But good to have you in the show, Prof.
Thanks, Eric, and thanks, Charles. Thanks.
And Ndu. You know, when we heard that the Azimio Manifesto was going to be launched, of course, being in the media, we got the advanced abridged version and, of course, also the other version. And we started looking into it. And we saw, okay. So it's been broken down into 10 points, and it's Azimio la 1, 2, 3 in Swahili words. And we're like, okay, so it looks well written,
impressive,
and others would argue, okay, well written, yeah, but what more does it have? If I just look at, for example, what the Nation has summarized on the front page on the issue of education, employment of all untrained, all trained but jobless teachers, free education going all the way to university level, offering a meal a day for all early childhood and lower primary school pupils. We're looking at social protection. The LFCTA is right there now in the manifesto for 2 million households, and then going on into civil servants getting medical cover even after retirement, monthly upkeep for single mothers. Wow. Health insurance, Baba Care, we've heard about this before, devolution and the increased allocation to the counties, transferring the other devolved functions and the funds that were needed. All these things that we've seen there, if we were just to summarize them, Prof, what are the anchors? Because they sounded like there are very many things. It's, you are promising to do everything at the same time.
Yes.
But what's the lead? What's going to be the needle?
Look here, we are basically saying that come August 10th, you are looking at an economic revolution. I know when you are asking what's the needle, it's as if you are asking, how will you finance this?
Yeah. Now, what's going to be the first one? I mean, I don't imagine that you're going to do all these things immediately together. Are you? Is that what the proposal is?
Look here, let me just give you an example. And you see, if you go to 2002, when NAC came to power, NAC also, if Eric, if Spice was existing, you too would have said, what's the needle? And you see, immediately NAC came to power, schools were opening. And you remember the free primary education? I'm just trying to give you an example.
Yep.
And all of a sudden, if I can give the example of Olympic Primary School,
there was an influx of students.
There was an influx
pupils.
of students and all that.
Yeah.
Did it happen or did it not happen?
It did. Despite the naysayers saying, we need some more time.
Exactly.
The president told his education minister, Saitoti, let the children go to school. They went to school.
And you know who was one of the pillars of that NAC government? Now he's in the driving seat. And he told you yesterday, my first 100 days. So all you do is you pick what you feel is a jamboree there, and you go and juxtapose it against what he said he'll do in the first 100 days. And in this 100 days, he has not put them in hierarchy. And there you pick the puzzle and pieces. And voila.
So all these things are going to happen. Let me read what the first 100-day plan is, just a bridge on what has been covered here. Stimulus and recovery. Plan, roll out economic stimulus and recovery plan. In agriculture, promote innovative and entrepreneurial agriculture, promote agro-processing and value addition, review policies and laws and standards to guide this sector, implement minimum return guarantee framework for farmers. You have stuff on in the environment, life sentence for
pause
poaching.
there for a moment, Eric.
Very many things.
Pause there. You see, the guarantee to minimum prices, there's an old law that needs to and it's from the 70s. It just needs actually to be sorted out. I mean, that doesn't need 100 days. If you take, for example, grains like wheat, you know, the main issue is that we tax imported wheat at 60%. You know, that doesn't require 100 days. Take access to credit. In a manner very reminiscent of 2003, you do something with the cash ratio, and the following day banks are in much more liquidity than they were today. So many of these things do not actually require 100 days. What they do require is political will. What they do require is a team that knows what they're doing, not guessing. And it's interesting that we have started on that 2003 note, because if you look at the candidate and the key team players, many of them, in fact, cut their teeth, if I can use that terminology, in that NAC administration. So when you look at Martha Karua herself, even a recent addition like Kipruto Lapkiro, Kisa Kitui, all of them, yes, all of them cut their teeth in that first Kibaki administration. So this is a team that is very well grounded, and when we say we are going to do things, we are going to do things.
I think the question, though, that it just, even as we read this agenda, you read these 10 points, even reading it seems really overwhelming. That it just appears that there's so much that needs to be fixed. And so the question is, to be honest, it sounds great to hear it. But I think the question that is lingering in the minds of many today is, how are these things going to work? Are we talking about a simultaneous, approach to all of this? Let different quarters be working at the same time? We're talking about money that's going to be released in the billions. And then the question is, where is it coming from? We're talking about initiatives that are going to be executed, and can we actually roll out all of these things at the same time? Realistically, beyond the glossy paper and the appeal of promise, is this a practical approach to getting things done?
It is a very, very practical approach. And mind you, see, there are 10 points. They're not hundreds.
10 heavy points.
Well, 10 heavy points. But social protection, for instance, we first of all, we are not starting from scratch. We're building on social protection that exists.
You're tripling it.
Yes, but you are not starting from scratch. Okay. I mean,
there's already a framework.
There's already a framework. The targeted 2 million households, but it's not people, 2 million households are already identified. If you take Babacare, you want to the key bit there is about whether everybody has insurance. You already have 17 million individuals on NHIF, and you want them to go to the whole population. So I honestly think, interesting you use the word overwhelming, because we are interested in an economic revolution. We are interested in social and governance transformation. So in a very real sense, a revolution ought to be overwhelming. You can't just tinker around the edges and think that you're going to...
If I can interject right there, if we look at the revolutions that happened in different parts of the world, they were at zero. Look at the Industrial Revolution that took place. They had no choice but to build from the bottom. So here we are, and we're saying that the status quo in Kenya, the way it has been before, is that maybe you have a public service who kind of just gets by at the end of the day. You have people who are supposed to be doing certain things, and implementation has been the bane of the existence of this economy, or lack of it rather, for the longest time. So if we're saying we're building on that, I think that's where the overwhelming comes in, because we're saying this is how things have been for the longest time. How are we going to essentially overhaul this to make this happen?
Well, first of all, if the Industrial Revolution, I think, for example, in the case of England or the UK, it took 2 centuries to actually get it to work. If you look at the US, it took maybe 150 years. But when we say we're building, perhaps you need to interpret it, or we need to interpret it in this context. Take agriculture and manufacturing. We have agriculture right now. But what happens is that the simplest tool, the simplest machine, the simplest piece of equipment, a shaft cutter to cut, wheat or other fodder for your ng'ombe is imported from China. And there is absolutely no reason and no need for that to happen. So when you look at the way the manifesto is crafted, and if you will, the internal order in it, the centerpiece is manufacturing. That first of all, it's not necessary, and we should not do it. And in any case, it's the big, gigantic opportunity to grow our economy and to create jobs. Manufacturing for ourselves. So if you listen to if you read it and you listen to what we are talking about, we're saying, look, it's not just consumer manufacturing, so not just making juice or bottling water. It is making the machines that you use to bottle the juice. And in fact, it is going beyond that. It's making the steel and the aluminium that you require in order to make the machines that you require to make the juice. And it is quite straightforward, really. Just near us here, Numerical Machining Complex is capable of producing 3 tons of high-grade steel per hour. So we should start there. Yeah.
Is that the plan? Because, like you say, we have all these building blocks, all right? We have a manifesto. And Prof, as you are writing this manifesto, was as you're looking at the bigger picture, is there a plan of where do we start and how do we move? Because Jack Ndu is saying, and that was the basis of my question even initially, there are very many things to be done. What is the work plan? What is the process? Where do we start? Where do we go to next?
You see, Eric, you know me, I'm both theoretical and practical. And you see, a manifesto is a statement of intent. And if you look at, and you'll forgive me for using NAC as an example, because this is another NAC moment. If you look at NAC, then there was the NAC manifesto. Then once NAC got into office, especially domiciled in the Ministry of Planning, they now develop the Economic Recovery Strategy document. So you are right that we have shown you the statement of intent. Then there'll come the program of action. And let me just go to what Nderitu is saying, for example, because we have seen that manufacturing is going to be the driver of this process. And we are basically saying that if you look at manufacturing now, it's only at 7.5% of the GDP. And you are saying we want to grow this to 30% of the GDP. And you are saying that, yes, there's a way in which things have been done before. And you're saying you are going to come and things are going to change. Yes, they are going to change, because this is not about business as usual. This is about, and look, when we are talking about manufacturing and you go down memory lane, if I can even take you all the way to session of paper number 10 of 1965, which has been the baseline even for subsequent policies that we have developed, including Vision 2030. And you see a departure, because sessional paper number 10 was talking of developing potential areas. And that's how the rest of the country remained behind the so-called marginalized area. If you go to our 10-point agenda, you're already seeing that we have said one county, one product, at least. And that should not be misread, that you can only produce, that a county can only produce one.
Choose
just
yours.
Means, yes, exactly. It simply means that though
at least.
Yes, at least one. And if you look at the collapse of industry, let me use Western Province, for example. And you look at the collapse of industries, whether it is the sugar industries, whether it is the paper mills, and people usually forget even the cotton ginneries in Busia and so on. And we are basically saying that if you are going to go back to manufacturing, and you have seen Mitumba has become a kind of fanfare in this country, that if I go and get that, what Sir George has won, and it is whatever. And our Kikomis, our River Texas, and our Kenrens, and what have you collapsed. Cotton, we nearly abandoned even producing cotton and all. And it is within that global vision that we are going to draw our program of action so that as we change, and I know this is important for you, as we change the mindset that has been there. Because, you know, there's an idea of you going and it is business as usual. It's not going to be business as usual. This economic revolution is going to be multifaceted, because you are bringing new thinking, you are bringing new work ethic. If you remember, Kibaki talked of a working nation.
Yep.
And we are going in this with a mindset of saying, look, we know where the rain has beaten us, and remember, this is the same candidate, and finally they formed the same coalition government, who had said in his 2007 manifesto, infrastructure, because he was like, there is no development that would occur without you laying the base for the infrastructure. You can say that infrastructure has been set, and you saw the way he came, and people were blaming him for businesses that had been set up on road reserves and all that. But he said, Kibaki agreed with him, because he was the Minister of Roads and Public Works, this has to go on. Look, if you are a current public servant, and we have said manufacture is going to be our driving process. If you are not ready to board the train, because that is where we are going, that's the revolution we're talking about.
You know, when the NAC government first came in, the country that they came in to govern over was very different from the one we have here. I listen to your conversations, but I don't hear enough of how it is the county governments are going to be involved in this process, because from where I sit, they are at the heart of everything that you are saying.
Yes.
Now,
and we have a sitting governor who's going to make it back. So I'll leave to him to go fast.
Okay, thank you very much. I mean, and allow me to sequence it, maybe because Eric has put the word sequence in my mind. That you're saying, can you simultaneously start acting in all these spaces? And my answer to you is yes. And please, go into the detail for a moment. Let's take two. Take SMEs. Implementing recognition of prior learning. Yeah? Shahada, yeah? Jitihada. Because the thing is, and again, a very straightforward point, millions of small micro businesses have learned the skill. Now, they may not have an engineering degree, but they have learned the skill. If you look at how we report, for example, in newspapers, we always say, look at this Standard 8 dropout or Form 4 dropout, and they have made a car.
And what they've done.
Or they have made this other thing or this other thing. Well, look, that's the point. There are thousands, if not millions of us, who have acquired the skill set, maybe through apprenticeship, learning by doing, and we can test the skill. We don't have to wait for. Now, implementing that is simply a question of an executive decision that's what we are doing. Then you start doing it. Now, will you reach everybody on day one? You may not reach everybody on day one, but you will start on day one. Take the idea of creating a financial institution to provide, low interest credit to boda boda and other small entities. Again, you could choose, for example, to broaden KIE, which already exists. So instead of giving them a paltry 200-300 million to go and do this work, give them 50 billion and let them get on with it, and so on. And I know Muga is going to ask from where. Well, you first of all stop stealing it.
All right.
Stop stealing it, because really the amount of resources that go through privilege and waste is incredible. I mean, President Uhuru estimated 2 billion a day. Take the next point on digital economy. Expand programs that connect youth to the digital economy, global networks for employment. Eric, every county headquarter is connected to the national optic fiber
network
backbone. Now, what is not happening? What is not happening is that the ICT authority and good people, and all credit to our friend and colleague Joe Musharu, but we are doing it we are waiting for customers to show up, and we think that the first customers are government institutions. What this requires is like that free primary education decision that from tomorrow, any SME, any young person who wants to connect to Northby will connect to it. Because even the nodes for where you can connect exist. And you will find that in a month, perhaps you cannot connect millions. So it is possible to do sequencing and simultaneous. But let us go then to Muga's question about devolution. And what you will see there is Azimio Ugatuzi. Because the devolution is not just a necessary thing. Devolution is it was a necessary price to pay for the issues that arose out of sessional paper number 10, where certain regions moved ahead faster than others, and that brought a different feeling of exclusion. So devolution is a critical driver. The manufacturing we are talking about, the connection to ICT, all these things are happening in counties. So you must train counties, and I think that the big thing again on the question of devolution, it goes back to political will and the ability to tame the national bureaucracy, which believes that they know or they have a better skill set.
They're the ones to think and you to implement.
And us to implement. and we can, anyway, I think on these airwaves, we have voiced, even now, and we don't
they
really
owe you money.
39.9 billion to be exact in conditional and unconditional grants. And you notice we are about 20 days to the end of the financial year. And I'm sure come July, then you're going to be caning us to say, why did you folks not utilize all the money?
Your absorption rate is 0.01%.
Yes, yet the money will show up. If it does, we were having a bit of a fight this last week because the monies had not been included in the supplementary budget. As you know, there is a supplementary budget too, necessitated by whatever, but also to bring them on board, because remember there was a High Court judgment that said that the grants had to have their own law. It took us forever to persuade Parliament to make the law. Once we got it done, and it was signed into law, the still National Treasury has not actioned it.
We'll talk about that, and I'm sure City will be asking. So you talk about all these things, 35% devolution to the counties, or taking all the functions of the counties, and how that is going to be
implemented. Just one write on that.
I want to take a break.
Just one write on that. That you saw the promise. The former chairman of the Council of Devolution is the one going to head the National Treasury.
Yes.
So they won't be having problems because he's one of them. So we will solve that bureaucratic
My
problem.
friend, the current head of Treasury is a former governor. So
No.
There's nothing.
No. Okay. This is the president who stood for devolution. If you go back to Bomas, who pushed for devolution? This candidate. He has lived the devolution throughout his life.
I give you that. I just keep saying every time that the current CS for the National Treasury, the one that Nerito is fighting with, is a former governor.
The difference is that this
man
time,
who
the
implemented
president
devolution
himself
and so it
will be one who fought for this devolution. That's the difference.
So the manifesto is basically saying, let's lead with manufacturing, okay? Let me tell you a story of a manufacturing company in this country. It's called Istiqbal. Istiqbal has over 60 years of manufacturing premium sofa sets, and now in the right furniture stores in Nairobi for your furniture needs. They give you a home full of innovation, style and elegance. Istiqbal stocks a wide range of products from sofas, TV units, coffee tables, dining sets, beds and mattresses. And you can visit the showroom at Mombasa Road, Village Market or Westside Mall in Nakuru and shop for the best in living selections. So Istiqbal, a local furniture manufacturing company with over 60 years of experience. www.istiqbalkenya.com. Istiqbal is ISTIKBAL. Istiqbal. Okay? www.istiqbal. Istiqbal. Istiqbalkenya.com. Or you can call them on 0790 551155. 0790 551155. Free delivery in Nairobi and Nakuru.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to SpiceFM.
Hey, have you heard about Mbuzi24.com?
Mbuzi what? No! What is it?
Mbuzi24.com delivers farm fresh products such as meat, cheese, eggs, herbs, and more straight to your door. Fresh and reasonably priced. And imagine, it's free delivery.
Mbuzi24.com. Farm fresh food. Order now and get free delivery in Nairobi. Goat meat only 545 Kenya shillings per kilogram.
Standard Group's Farm Kenya initiative is the umbrella entity for all agriculture-related channels, activities and investments. The media platforms under the Farm Kenya initiative include the Smart Harvest Weekly Pullout in the Saturday Standard, KTN Farmers TV, a 24-hour agribusiness TV station, Maisha Kilimo, a weekly agriculture show on Radio Maisha, AgriTalk on SpiceFM's morning show The Situation Room, and Grind na Agribiz on Vibes Radio morning show Morning Vibes. Find us online at www.farmers.co.ke, an integrated website that creates and aggregates agri-content, hosts a digital marketplace, and wide range of agri-data. Other platforms include specialized events such as the annual Mkulima Expo, quarterly Farmers Kenya Breakfast, and dedicated social media platforms at Farm Kenya 254. Farm Kenya, working to secure your growth.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to SpiceFM.
At KTN Home, we are all about the action, so you can enjoy unstoppable, unbeatable, unrivaled, unmatched movies from
It
Hollywood.
is cloudy in Nairobi at 16. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 14 today. It's sunny at 14 in Nakuru with highs of 24. 22 will be the high in Nyeri, where it's raining at 15, and we'll see lows of 14, while partly sunny conditions in Eldoret. 12, highs of 21 and lows of 11. The sun is out in Mombasa at 26, highs of 28 and lows of 22. And we'll see lows of 22 as well in a rainy Malindi at 23. It'll go to highs of 28. We'll also see highs of 28 in a partly sunny Kisumu currently at 18. And it's also 18 in Kakamega. It'll go to highs of 25 and lows of 16. Partly sunny conditions in Kampala at 21, highs of 26 and lows of 19. While Dar es Salaam is sunny at 24. We'll see highs of 31 and lows of 23. 6 degrees and clear in Johannesburg, warming up ever so slightly. Highs of 19 and lows of 5 today. It's mostly clear in Lagos at 24. Highs of 31. 31 will also be the high in a clear Kinshasa at 21.
Chilled Spice.
All right, traffic continues and it's looking a little bit better on the Thika Superhighway. We're looking at just around that Utali drift, just past all shops is where we'll see the heaviest traffic. But Kiambu Road is another story. It's absolutely messy, as what is also happening on Limuru Road today. Looking a bit stuffy there as well. Industrial area, we're looking at Lunga, Likoni, Jogo Road, and then coming through to the interchange on the southern bypass is where we see a little bit. But Langata Road, I'm sorry, is a headache. If you're coming off of Langata Road trying to access the interchange, you're not going to have it too easy. Juja Road is also a sticking point for folks this morning. Not quite sure what's happening up ahead. But remember, if you're heading out of the city, Kimende, that area, very limited visibility. Put your lights on, slow down, and arrive alive. Let's talk. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
All right, it is 18 minutes to 8 o'clock, Kenya's biggest conversation. It continues. We are looking at the Azimio Manifesto, which was launched yesterday by the Azimio La Umoja One Kenya coalition at Nyayo National Stadium. Joining us in the studio this morning are the two of the many people who participated in authoring this particular document. Professor Adam Zolo, a political scientist from the University of Nairobi. He was in the driver's seat of this particular process. And His Excellency Derito Muriithi, the governor of Laikipia County, who's also the chairman of the Azimio Presidential Campaign Board. We are looking into the details of the city. You were asked about devolution. So yes, a number of the things that have been mentioned in this Azimio is Azimio la Ugatuzi, saying focus on devolution.
Yes. If you look at the implementation of the county or the enactment of our county government, you would find that the actually running of those institutions and those who run them fall into several categories. First, you get the impression that most people who have those jobs are actually surprised they have them, because they seem to be trying to figure out what it is that they're supposed to do, and then by the third year is when they seem to have an idea of what's going on, and by that time, so much water has gone on the bridge, nothing happens. Mm-hmm. Then there's the category of people who think that it's a talk show like ours, where every once in a while they come to the public and tell them stories about Mimi, Kama Fulani, I'm going to do this. In fact, the things that you saw me doing the other day, that's just the beginning. And the talk. The vast majority fall into the category of people who think this whole thing about being a governor is a get-rich-quick scheme. And hopefully I'll get away with it. Now, how does Azimio plan to make all these processes that they talk of revolutionizing our system, how do they plan to make the county system the center of all these activities that will bring about the change that they're talking about? How will they make sure that these governors are accountable? Because there are very few officials that we have in this country whose faults are pointed out by the Auditor General, like the county governments. You can even get tired of reading the things, and you wonder, audit queries, yes, but must there be so many? By the time an audit query is being spoken of, it means you are asked to justify it, you are not able to justify it, or you gave some reason that was inadequate. If the Azimio coalition cannot convincingly explain to us as Kenyans how they hope to make this agenda of theirs centered on the county governments, I'm afraid to say that everything that they're going to say will fall in the category of mere words.
Well, I'm not quite sure, City, that it is correct that county governments attract the most audit queries. Yes, and if I look at the big corruption scandals, if I look at KEMSA, if I look at Kimwarel Dam, if I look at Aro Dam, all these are national government issues. Now, do county governments have a fair share of areas of improvement? They do, but they also have more than a fair share of their successes. And I want to give you a couple of examples. And to look at speed of change in the economies of these counties. I mean, you will find counties that are growing at around 10%, which is what brings the national average to around 7.5%. Yeah, in that category, you'll find people like Elgeyo Marakwet, like Laikipia, and others, growing at a very fast pace indeed. You will find counties doing the things that we want done nationally. Some of us have been doing them in counties, like retrenchment and streamlining a public service so that it is less wasteful. Yeah, and we are not just talking about things that we will do in the future. We are talking about things we'll do in the future based on what we've been able to achieve at county level. So, and if you look at Azimio la Ugatuzi, the idea is that the counties are at the heart of driving the manufacturing agenda that we're talking about. Just again to give you a couple of examples. When you go to Dedan Kimathi University, you will find there a factory right now, not tomorrow, making microchips. Yeah? And just reflect on that for a moment. We are making microchips and exporting to the US and other markets. And that business is only going to grow. You will find, for example, the steel that we are talking about, again in Nyeri, in Laikipia, in Taita Taveta, in all these places, you will find plenty of iron ore that is already identified. And the coal to fire it up is just next door in Kitui. So the things are happening at counties. But obviously, and it is my mantra in my own government in Laikipia, a good thing can be made better. But frankly, I think devolution, CT, is the biggest opportunity from a transformation point of view, because it creates 47 possible centers of growth as opposed to one center.
The challenge will be, like what we were discussing and what Prof. you wanted to comment on, is on ensuring that the counties get the requisite funds timely. Yes. That they're also able to creatively generate on-source revenue and to manage these finances well. What is the focus in this Azimio Manifesto to make sure that counties are able first have receiving the money from the national government, their share of revenue, and also are facilitated to be able to generate their own revenues?
Eric, the first thing I should say is that Governor used the word will. From where I sit, I use the word interest, political interest. So the first thing you look usually is, does the national leader, does the president have political interest in these county governments? And for this particular candidate, yes, because this was at the cornerstone of his party manifesto. It's something that he has pursued with zeal. Number two, if you look at both BBI and the Azimio document, then you're seeing that it is provided that the amounts that will go to the county government, and you remember the opponent has really been hitting at this, will increase from not less than 15% to not less than 35%. That should tell you that this initiative looks at the counties, as Governor Nderitu says, as part of a partner with the national government. Number 3 is that, and Derituya will confirm to you, that there has been a kind of tug of war. If we were to look, for example, the question of health that City is very familiar with, that health is a devolved function. But when you finally look at the way the government, the present government, has operated, you'll find that most of the funds that are supposed to go to the health sector have remained at the national level, as opposed to going to the county government where the action is. If you look at the battles that they had with the national government over the equipment that were brought and all that, what we are basically saying is that in an Azimio government, because there is political interest to make the county a partner in this governance process, then what we are saying is that you'll see a more passionate relationship right from IBEC to other intergovernmental relations being more frequent and more structured. And I think it also goes to what City is raising about, remember that county governments are not only going to be Azimio county government. I think it would be foolhardy for me to say that Azimio is going to win all the 47 counties. Definitely there are quite a number of counties that Kenya Kwanza is going to win. And as the national government, you'll want a national treasury that sits up there and supports both the national government and the county government. And what was envisaged in the Constitution of Kenya 2010 was a national treasury that is up there, that the national government does not treat as before. And therefore it's a national treasury that serves both the national government and the county government. And I can assure you that in the manifesto, Azimio is saying you'll have such a body that serves both. Lastly, what I can say is that going again to the 10-point agenda, then you'll find that the engine and the driver of economic revolution is reflected in the one county, one product. That by itself tells you that we in Azimio and the national government in Azimio will not see the county government as a competitor, but rather as a partner in the realization of this. And I can assure you that it will be done.
Okay, I want to ask one thing. And a lot of times when we see things like this, we see grand plans like this, the question is, how is it going to be funded? You talked about the fact that, look, the money is there. CT always says their money is there. There's money in the country. Let's not worry about anything like that. But it's being bled because of corruption. If anything, we've seen maybe a bit of a romance with corruption. Okay, maybe we'll get rid of it today. Maybe we won't. But to me, if we're going to plug the hole, it's a matter of saying we are going to stop this. And from speculation, it can be that there is a reluctance. There's no will to actually plug the holes where corruption is thriving in this country and taking away the much needed funds to do anything like this. So what's it going to be? What is it really going to be? Not, yes, we'll end corruption, we'll jail people, but what is it really going to be to loosen up these funds that are much needed to do things like this if it's ever going to happen? And I think that's really the thing.
Well, I think the promise from the candidate and ourselves is to declare corruption a threat to national interest. And what that does is open wider, if you will, the repertoire of things you can do, we will do to tame corruption. And speaking from personal experience as governor of Laikipia, look, it took me maybe a year and a half, I think, to grow revenue from 400 to something like 700 billion. By doing some simple, straightforward things. Why do staff need to handle cash? instead of M-Pesa. Just let the taxpayer pay by mobile money. Why do we, and so on. And as a matter of fact, the average tax to my micro businesses has gone down from 5,800 to 4,800 because we've doubled the number that are paying. So it is really a fairly straightforward thing, but it goes back to will and character, because the tone at the top is what is going to be critical in winning. Because you see, as you reform the organization, the staff members all across the organization are looking at the behavior of the top leadership, and they will generally follow cue to that behavior.
Even when there are friends who've got their finger in the cookie jar, even when they're friends of the administration, friends of the would-be executive who have been tainted. Will it be easy to say, look, Ndirito, you're my friend. However, I know that you have done 1, 2, 3. We've put you through the necessary process, and we see that you've come out guilty. Will we see a clear move to say, friends or not, we're going to get rid of this thing?
And I have no doubt in my mind, and when I look at our presidential candidate, when I look at our deputy president candidate, I mean, their character, and they have demonstrated time and time again that they will not sacrifice principle on the basis of friendship and so on. And I would say that in the times of Kibaki 1, that's exactly what made a difference, that you saw people really close to Kibaki, fall on the sword because they were caught in a circumstance of corruption. So I have no doubt in my mind that this is going to happen. And if you look at even say choices already being made in the processes of nomination, that look, yes, you're my friend, but Eric, if you are 20%, we are not going to prefer you to CT who is at 40%.
Excellency, is it possible for Azimio, you've told us what you want to do, we've heard.
Okay.
Is it possible to spend a little time before the elections telling the citizens of this country how exactly you are going to do it? The what we've gotten. When we talk of education, when we talk of agriculture, when we talk of this, specify even the areas where you plan to do this, so people know, if I'm interested in growing cotton and I live here, this is what we are going to do.
So break down the conversation now going forward in the next 60 days, 63 days.
Indeed.
Saying this is how we are going to, how we propose to do these things.
Indeed.
Is that the plan?
Look, for instance, look, let's go into some detail. I think that if that's what I understand you to be saying.
Not for now. He's just asking you to say, is that the plan?
Yes. The answer is yes. You see, if you go deeper in the manifesto, when we say manufacturing, and we say which manufacturing, and therefore which county.
Excellency, the majority of us will not read that document.
We will tell you from the mountaintop.
Precisely.
Yes.
But we will willingly come to the rallies and listen to you.
We conclude the conversation. But I have got to ask you this question, Prof. This Azimio la Ugatuzi, there are very many things. It does not have Azimio la BBI. And you wrote this manifesto. You wrote BBI as well. So but is BBI part of the agenda of this administration?
Look, you can see that issues BBI, some issues BBI. Remember, BBI was pigeonholed into only the constitutional changes. BBI had 4 components. There was the constitutional changes, there were the policy changes, there were the legislative changes, there were the administrative action points. And the issues that cut across are already there. If you look at the 35%, it's already there. To devolved government is already there. If you look at the tax relief for university students, the 7-year holiday, it is already there. So issues that are wananchi connected, because he going to the question that he has raised, issues that came from wananchi are factored in there, which were in our administrative action point. And by the way, CT, later we shall be having region-specific and county-specific action points, because that's what you're saying. You have said you guys don't have a reading culture. We understand. We don't blame you for not having that reading culture. But we shall still do something that is specific to the county.
Thank you very much. Professor Adam Zolo is a political scientist from the University of Nairobi. He was instrumental in authoring the Azimio Manifesto. Also in the studio has been His Excellency Nderitu Muriithi, the Governor of Laikipia County and the Chair of the Azimio Presidential Campaign Board. Gentlemen, thank you very much for joining us. Yes. And yes, we'll be coming back now. We go into issue-specific or sector-specific as we break it down.
Absolutely.
Asante sana. It's 8 a.m.
Yeah.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Aspirant Jimmy Wanjigi questioned how and why the commission cleared him without a degree certificate. And the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission cleared Kirinyaga Governor Anne Waiguru to defend a seat despite a name being flagged by the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission. Waiguru, alongside a running mate Wachira Githanda, who once served as County Speaker Kirinyaga, were cleared to contest in the gubernatorial race. Waiguru picked Wachira as a running mate after James Kinyua, who was initially proposed, failed to meet the requirements as he didn't resign as per IEBC schedule. The EACC cautioned the independent body against clearing Waiguru and 240 others for the August polls, saying they either faced graft charges or had their files under scrutiny by the integrity body. And Senator James Orengo has promised to ensure good governance in the county government within his first 100 days in office should he become the next governor. Orengo said that governance was the panacea to all the ills that bedevils any institution, and the moment the holder of the office gets it right, then matters corruption and other tribulations that bedevil devolved units will be a thing of the past. He was speaking in Siaya Town after being cleared with his running mate William Muduol by the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission to contest for the governorship in the next general election. To Kisumu County, and former Governor Jack Ranguma was cleared and by the IEBC to run for the gubernatorial seat. Ranguma, who lost to Anyang' Nyong'o in 2017, is seeking to recapture the seat on a Movement for Democracy and Growth ticket. Speaking in Tom Mboya Labour College in Kisumu after being cleared, Ranguma vowed to give his opponents a run for their money as campaigns for the top seat take shape. He said his main agenda will be to complete projects he started during his first time in office, accusing the incumbent of abandoning them despite having consumed billions of public funds. And Uasin Gishu Governor Jackson Mandago was grilled by the Regional Directorate of Criminal Investigations in connections with the alleged criminal activities. He was questioned alongside County Assembly Speaker David Kiplagat and Cheptiret Kipcham Ward MCA Gilbert Tenai. Mandago was summoned following intelligence report revealing that he was actively sponsoring, arming and training a group of militia at the Agricultural Training Center in Eldoret. Speaking outside the Rift Valley Regional DCI headquarters, Mandago denied the claim and reminded the security officers that they have a constitutional duty to make sure that there is fairness and justice. He warned them against using the criminal justice system to prevent others from campaigning. And a joint United Nations team in Kenya comprising of the UN Resident Coordinator's Office, SDG Partnership Platform, UNFPA, WHO and UNAIDS has partnered with Trigarius to introduce an innovative financing vehicle aimed at transforming adolescent health outcomes in Kenya by tackling the challenges of teen pregnancy and HIV infections among adolescent girls. The 3-year program will harness opportunities for private and public investments in public health to improve access and uptake of sexual and reproductive health and HIV services among low adolescent girls in 10 counties in Kenya. The 10 counties include Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Migori, Homa Bay, Kisii, Nyamira, Bungoma, Busia and Kakamega. Internationally, and British Prime Minister Boris Johnson survived a vote of no confidence from his own Conservative MPs, but with his position weakened after a sizable number refused to back him. The Brexit figurehead called the 211 to 148 split a convincing result, a decisive result.
I can report as returning officer that 359 ballots were cast, no spoiled ballots, that the vote in favour of having confidence in Boris Johnson as leader was 211 votes, and the vote against was 148 votes. And therefore, I can announce that the Parliamentary Party does have confidence.
The vote just over 2 years after he won a landslide general election victory was brought after a string of scandals that have left the Tories party standing in tatters. This is Newswire. I'm Dennis Sato. Good morning.
.5 Spice FM, Kisumu.
All right, so traffic in the city this morning is what we're looking at on Jogo Road, in and outbound traffic for some interesting reason. Not quite sure where there's outbound traffic, but we're looking at Hamza going out then towards the roundabout at City Stadium, and then it's picking up going towards Landys and then out towards, it's your normal morning traffic. There's a mess in Westlands, and we're looking at that whole area of Kileleshwa then going into Lavington, out towards Zima Springs and then out towards James Gishuru. That is quite messy this morning. Wayaki Way is also doing the thing. You can use the Red Hill Link Road to get you out of whatever mess is happening there. All right, the Thika Superhighway is undecided today. Is there traffic or not? Because now again, at 8 o'clock, we see quite some traffic and it's going well past the Outer Ring Junction. Kiambu Road is not looking good at all, folks. If you don't need to be on Kiambu Road, perhaps you need to decide otherwise. And Juja Road, lots of folks complaining about Juja Road this morning. Not quite sure what's causing that traffic today, but it's an absolute mess. Okay, tell us what's going on where you are. Let's see how we can at least spread the information to get folks where they're going in a good time. And then let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127. Let's keep things moving this morning.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down. This is The Situation Room, the only way to start your
8
day.
after 8. Good morning. Welcome to the third hour of Kenya's biggest conversation today. It's the 7th day of that month. Are we still in March? See, we just unanimously agree to peane,
We can.
At least let's cross over into April.
We can.
You know?
Can.
Oh, April usually comes after March.
Yeah.
On good days it does.
On good days.
Or in good years. Is this a leap year, by the way?
Was it? Do we have the 29th?
What happens when, what determines that there's a leap year?
When it's the 29th of February, that's a leap year. And it only happens every, 4
years.
It
Every
happens
4
every
years.
3-4 years.
No, definitely not 3.
Not 3. It moved to 4. Okay.
We are going to have an education conversation in this hour. And probably by the end of this, we will know how regularly a leap year comes. But let's start with the day's proverb, City.
A thread follows the path of the needle.
A thread follows the path of the needle.
Yes.
This is again from the Comoros.
This is our final proverb from the Comoros. Yes.
From Moroni.
You're determined with this one, Eric, but thank you.
Aye.
Yes, for highlighting my village. Yes.
Moroni in the Comoros.
Yes.
Okay. What does it mean, though? I mean, it sounds fairly straightforward. Thread follows.
A proverb doesn't really make sense if it doesn't deal with items that are easily recognizable and relatable to. People relate easily to a needle.
Yes.
Whether it is for sewing or for kneading, whatever it is, or whether it is for pricking into some part of your body to ensure that an infusion of medication enters your system. Threads are known. I mean, whether again for the same purpose of creating something, or whether it is there for tying up, but it has a function. Now, the two go hand in hand. Yes.
Okay.
And one relates to the other because one makes the others, each of them need the other for them to become fully relevant and for their function to be fully appreciated.
Okay.
In the absence of a thread, it becomes difficult to understand the functions of a needle beyond causing you pain. Okay? And in the absence of that needle, it's very difficult to understand the function of a thread beyond a string that's just simply lying about without any direct function.
So they need one another.
They need one another.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Now, we have a guest in the studio. He's Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa. He's the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda. Dr. Manyasa, karibu to Kenya's biggest conversation.
Thank you.
That is the hot seat that you occupy, but we will have some grace today because we've just crossed over into April from March. We've been stuck in that. Now it was becoming a bit of a problem.
I think the good doctor is going to be wondering why it is we were stuck in March and why we haven't perhaps
even got into May. Yeah, I'll explain to him.
You know, the promises were made in this country in the month of March, earth-moving, life-changing promises. One was that, well, not really. March was the date on which these promises were supposed to be fulfilled. One of them was the reduction of the prices, the cost of electricity. Yes. We got 15% the year before, but it was supposed to be 30%. Then we were told March, so we said, okay. But around that same time, there's this lovely expressway that has very many names, but it's the expressway. We were told that this particular expressway would be completed and would be inaugurated by the president that same month. So we said, hooray, March isn't too far away. At least in January it wasn't. Now we're in June, March is really far away, but it's behind. So because our time set was based on the premises of these two promises, and they were in March, we're stuck in March.
I am actually stuck in 2000.
Okay. What happened in 2000?
Because we were supposed to have piped water to every household by the year 2000. And yesterday I had a promise of water to every household. So we are still in 2000.
That is a never-ending promise. It is called sustainable goal. Sustain the goal. Not
you do the sustaining.
Not achieve the goal.
Not achieve the goal. No. It's a sustainable goal. Dr. Manyasa, thank you very much for joining us. What is the Usawa Agenda?
Thank you. Usawa Agenda is a not-for-profit organization that works in education in Kenya. We do research and advocacy. And we do research and community engagement. So we research on learning levels, on drivers of learning levels, and we engage with the relevant stakeholders around that, the stakeholders being government, communities, parents, teachers, and yourselves as the fourth estate.
You know, Usawa then would imply that you're looking at equality and inequality. Is that so?
Yes, we are very much interested on the issues of inequity in education, because we think that is where inequities in society are planted. Because once the education system is inequitable, then there is no chance that there will be equity in society.
And how are we faring?
Not so good.
How so? Could you explain how we are not doing so well? How Kenya is not doing so well then in this whole inequity conversation than when it comes to education? How? Why?
I want us to look at secondary schools in particular for today.
Okay.
And I will explain to you why there is a lot of inequity in our secondary school system. Because we have categorized schools into sub-county, county, extra-county, and national.
Yes.
And if you take 4 children who have scored 400 marks or 300 marks each, and you take one to a sub-county school, another to a county school, another to extra-county, and another to a national school, they will emerge with different grades in Form 4. And Form 4 grade, and this is very important to note, Form 4 grade is the most consequential grade that anyone ever scores in this country. You can flunk in your university exam, you will go to another university and enroll in a different degree program and just graduate and forget that you are ever enrolled in this other. But if you fail in your Form 4, it will follow you everywhere. For example, we have children in this country or young people who have not scored the required C+ to join university in the first instance. And then they have gone through diploma and they have gone through levels and ended up with a degree or even a master's. You cannot serve, you cannot enter our military as a cadet if you did not get a C+.
It doesn't matter how many
degrees you acquire along the way. And yet someone with a B+ straight from Form 4 can join the military as a cadet. You can't join with your degrees if you didn't score a C+ in Form 4. If you didn't score a C+ in Form 4 and you went to a TTC and you trained as a teacher and later upgraded to degree and even masters, you cannot teach in a secondary school. You'll never be promoted to teach in secondary school if
because
you didn't have a C+.
KCSE
because your KCSE was not C+. Wow. That is how consequential KCSE examinations are. That they follow you everywhere.
Now, take a step back. You said that if you got pupils who score 400 in KCPE across the country,
or 300.
300.
We take 300?
Let's take 300.
Let's take the geniuses. 400.
Okay. All right.
And then you decide that you don't have school fees. You're going to a sub-county day school.
Okay. I'll
you
go happily.
have a bit of school fees, but you can't afford it. You're going to a county. You are going to extra county. You, congratulations, you go to the national school. You're saying at the end of the 4 years, they are going to most likely get different scores.
They will emerge from secondary school with different scores.
Why?
Attending, let me just give you some of the findings we have here. If you attended a national school, if you attend a national school, you're going to score on average 5.4 points higher than someone else who attended a sub-county school who joined with the same entry marks. That is...
You know, we are going to ask you why.
You will ask me, and I have them here. I brought them.
So why?
So that is that is the case, and you can see why. National schools, 80% of the teachers in national schools are TSC teachers. 67% of teachers in sub-county schools are TSC teachers. The rest are employed by boards of management, and these are people who are underpaid, who don't have security of tenure, who are therefore least motivated and mostly inexperienced. If you look at the intern teachers that the government has employed, national schools have only 2.7% of their teachers being interns. Sub-county schools have 7.5% of their teachers being interns. What does that tell you? Sub-county schools, besides having fewer teachers than they need, they also have the least experienced teachers. And they have the least experienced managers. National schools, on average, principals in national schools have been principals for at least 12 years. 54% of them have been principals for at least 12 years. Most of the principals in the sub-county schools are the inexperienced principals, the ones who have served 1 to 3
Those are the ones who are starting.
Principals, the ones who are starting to be principals.
Right.
So these schools we have the least experienced teachers, the least motivated teachers, and managed by the least experienced managers.
Facilities?
Facility-wise, 87.7% of national schools have libraries. Just about 20% of sub-county schools have libraries.
When you talk about the numbers, are you looking at the current number of national schools? We have
Yes.
over 100 national schools, not the 27 of Kitambo.
I'm looking at the 100 national schools. This is data from last year, July. And so we're looking at the current numbers. When you look at the resources that these schools get from government, an average national school has 1,200 students minimum, times the 22,000 that they receive per student. Roughly how much is that? An average sub-county school has just below 400 students. So you multiply that again by the 22,000. So the capitation model as it is inequitable. It favors the big schools and not the small schools. Because once you have children in school, there are certain things that are basic. They all need, whether they are 10 or they are 1,000. And some of those basic things are the libraries we're talking about. You need a library in school, whether you have 10 students or you have 1,000. But the money is based on the numbers. The capitation is purely based on the numbers, and that is a problem. We need to have some basic minimum that is given to every school, and then some variable amount that now depends on the numbers of the students.
Do you see this then affecting then your populations of learners then that are going to schools? And I'll explain that a little bit more. Having a conversation a few weeks ago when we said, why is it that you have X number then of national schools, just as an example, if we're looking at that as, you know, where everybody wants to go. You have X number of national schools, but then you have a higher percentage in terms of numbers of students applying to just 10 of these national schools in the country. With what you're saying, then would you guarantee that you have more students going across the country to all the schools, regardless of, you know, what their name may have been or what kind of reputation they have accumulated over years? With this formula that you're talking about, then would you guarantee that all schools at the national level, for example, would be at par?
You know, for the last about 7 years, we've had what the government has been calling the National Schools Upgrading Program. And even in this year's budget, there is 370 million set aside for that. And I don't understand, because for me, we need a sub-county school upgrading program so that we start to narrow the gap between the quality of a sub-county school and the quality of a national school. Because today we don't really have a standard of what is a secondary school. Because a secondary school will range from Nairobi school with 1,000 acres of land and children eating eggs in school to another structure somewhere that is smaller by far than this one corridor to the end. Just a few, 2-3 classrooms. The teachers don't have a staff room where they can sit and attend to students. And we still call it a secondary school. So we need a sub-county school upgrading program to start to put resources there to make them worthy of the name school. And then put the teachers there, because there are no teachers in those schools. And there is some part of it which is part of faultiness in the law. If you look at the TSC Act, the TSC Act mandates TSC to provide the headship of a school when a school is set up. So if today you go to your village and the people there tell you now you can help us set up a school, you'll be the chairman of a board of management and you set up a school, TSC will give you the head. And they have met the requirements of the TSC Act by doing so. Where you get the other teachers is your business. They will tell you we will give you more teachers when they become available. And they want to become available. So
Emmanuel, why won't they become available?
Because the government has had limited budget for a very long time. So for a very long time, government replaces teachers who are retiring and who are leaving the service to do other
In essence, you're saying the government doesn't really employ new teachers.
It replaces.
Very minimal. They majorly are replacing teachers who are leaving the service through retirement, through death, through disciplinary processes. And that's why a lot of schools, if you ask anyone who runs any public school in the country, they'll tell you they have teacher shortage. And every year they send to TSC, they say we lack an English teacher, we lack a math teacher, we lack. When recruitment opportunities come, they are told you have an opportunity to recruit one teacher.
Let me ask about best practice, because you've done very well, Emmanuel, in just showing us the inequity from sub-county to county to extra county to national school in terms of quality, the numbers of teachers, the amenities available in the schools. The question is, why do we categorize the schools?
I don't understand. It's not within our laws. I think it's a colonial relic.
Is there colonial, not colonial, is there a global best practice? Are there other jurisdictions where schools are secondary schools are categorized?
I don't know of any. I think we may have borrowed this from the British, but I don't even think that it still works there.
Okay.
It is something that was there before. They believed there were children who are more talented and they needed to be put in institutions where they can be able to explore their talents more. But today we are in a different era. We are in the SDGs era, where we are saying we have committed as a country to pursue SDG 4 to give every child a chance, an equal chance to thrive through education. But now we are not giving them equal opportunities at all when we look at the schools we take them.
So you've given us the academic and that answer. Now let's talk about the reality, the realistic answer, because this is not a new phenomenon.
Yeah.
Before they were called extra counties were called provincial and district schools and national schools.
Harambee schools.
And Harambee schools, which are now the day school sub-county. There was a reason. Or at least even then, there was some thinking of why a school is at a certain category and a certain level. What was it?
And we can just go back to a very recent history when there was this clamor to create more national schools and saying creating more national schools will actually enable more children to go to national schools. And the logic is very faulty. Why the logic faulty? Because they are saying national schools will admit children from all over the country. They'll allow children to mix and therefore to develop some ethnic cohesion.
National cohesion.
They call it national cohesion, but it's basically ethnic cohesion, trying to say bring one from there and here and let them live together. But what stops us from mixing these children in any other school?
Capacity.
Which capacity? Why can't we build capacity in those schools? And basically that is what I'm saying. We need to upgrade our sub-county schools to a level where they have facilities that will enable children from all over the country to learn there. They don't have to be village schools where you say, now this one, its capacity is for only those who can walk from here.
Walk to school.
And so those ones don't need to be part of the national cohesion.
No. I completely see the issues and the questions that you're raising, because they've been asked many times before. I'm just trying to understand what was it that we were trying to address. I think if we just look back at the reality of the development of the country, all right? So the day Harambee schools, communities coming together and putting up a school, they have limited capacity in what they can do. And then the government says, so I'm going to bring in the teachers. And then the community is saying, we want our children to be able to go to the school. Now, there are several other things. We are not able to build this Harambee school into a boarding school, because boarding school means a certain cost of even taking the children to the school, because we cannot afford it as a community to take our children to a boarding school. So let's make it a day school and they can be coming home. There's logic. Then in the 60s, okay, there was that logic. And then there was, so we have a district school. So those ones who are then able, we shall find ways in which the community and the government shall support them to go to a district school, to a provincial school, to a national school. And then we're looking at, so who then goes to the national school? Let's use performance.
My question is this: what stops the government from investing in Onjiko Secondary School sufficiently enough to make it an equivalent of
Nairobi
Alliance, so that every child, when they go to school, they have an equal chance that they will learn? Let me point out some other form of inequity that is there in these schools. If you go to most sub-county schools, you will find they teach 7 subjects. It's because of teacher shortage. And that is the minimum number of subjects that you end up sitting.
So essentially the choices available to the student is 7.
0. You have 7 subjects which you will have to do from Form 1
They're
to
all
Form 4.
compulsory.
They are all compulsory. When you come to some of these bigger schools, they offer up to 21 subjects. So that a learner at some point will have to find something they like.
4 languages.
There is music, there is power mechanics, there is drawing and design, there is
aviation.
Everything. So you will find something that you align to and which you can pursue as a career after high school. These are the learners who have gone to this school where you're told, this school, we offer aggregate as the examinable subject. So if you're good in music, if you're good in art and design,
You stand no chance.
You stand no chance. So are we giving these children equal opportunity?
Very, very pertinent questions that you're asking this morning. Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa is the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda. We are talking about inequality in Kenya's secondary school subsector and the impact that this is having on future generations. We've had this categorization of schools. We've really just been looking at it in terms of, its categorization of schools. But yeah, we all know when you say that you went to Onjiko Primary School and someone else comes and says, I went to St. Mary's. It's called St. Mary's Yala. There are difference at East Kibari. East Kibari Secondary School. There's already a perception that is created in somebody's mind when they hear the school you went to. That perpetuates these inequalities. Big conversation that we're having. Let's take a break at 29 minutes to 9 o'clock. We've been telling you about Istiqbal. Istiqbal is this furniture manufacturing company with over 60 years in the country, giving you the right furniture store in Nairobi for your furniture needs. They are available in Nairobi along Mombasa Road with a showroom there, Village Market, and a Westside Mall in Nakuru. Shop for the best living selections, www.istiqbalkenya.com. Istiqbal is ISTIKBAL. Istiqbal. istiqbalkenya.com. And also, you can actually take your furniture home as you lipa polepole with available payment partners. If you're a KCB, APSA, or DTB account holder, if you go to their website, you will be able to find out how you can actually just purchase furniture, lipa polepole. Good premium furniture, locally manufactured. Time for a break. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day. Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM.
Hey, Mato, what's up? You're not yourself today. Just a little push and pull with my taxes. I'm moving to court to challenge some tax claims from the KRA. Easy, man. Have you considered talking to them before, taking this long judicial route? What do you mean talking to them? It's a KRA, for heaven's sake. Yo, listen. The KRA has established an alternative dispute resolution mechanism which is faster, flexible, confidential, and above all, provides a win-win outcome for all parties. Wait. As in, I can actually engage KRA out of court? Oh, yes. And it's free. Now, able get that gloom off your face and go talk to KRA today.
For more information on KRA's alternative dispute resolution, write to adr@kra.go.ke. KRA, tujadiliane, tuelewane.
Hey, have you heard about Mbuzi24.com?
Mbuzi what? No! What is it?
Mbuzi24.com delivers farm fresh products such as meat, cheese, eggs, herbs, and more straight to your door. Fresh and reasonably priced. And imagine, it's free delivery.
Mbuzi24.com. Farm fresh food. Order now and get free delivery in Nairobi. Goat meat only 545 Kenya shillings per kilogram.
Hey, have you heard about Mbuzi24.com?
Mbuzi what? No! What is it?
Mbuzi24.com delivers farm fresh products such as meat, cheese, eggs, herbs, and more straight to
So
your
looking
door.
at cloudy
Fresh
conditions
and
in
reasonable.
Nairobi this morning, we'll see highs of 24, coming down to lows today of 15. Mostly cloudy at 17 in Nakuru, highs of 24 and lows of 14. And it's raining in Nyeri, still at 16, highs of 22 and lows of 14. At 14, it'll be partly sunny in Eldoret through today, highs of 21 and lows of 13. Cloudy conditions in Mombasa at 25, highs of 28 and lows of 24. While Malindi is raining at 24, we'll see highs of 28 today. Partly sunny conditions at 21 in Kisumu, highs of 28 and lows of 18. And it's partly sunny as well in Kakamega, highs of 25 and lows of 16. The sun is out in Kisumu, in Kampala at 22, highs of 26 and lows of 19. While it's mostly cloudy in Dar es Salaam at 25, it'll go to highs of 30 and lows of 23. The sun is out at 6 degrees in Johannesburg, highs of 19 and lows of 5. While it's mostly clear in Lagos at 24, it'll go to highs of 31. 31 will also be the high in a sunny Kinshasa at 21.
Welcome to Spice FM, the best exclusive radio station bringing you the best mix of the best music ever.
It continues in many parts of the city this morning, and we're still seeing some action on the Thika Superhighway today, trying to get into the CBD. Jogo Road is still doing that thing. Langata Road is absolutely crazy. If you're going towards the city and you're on Langata Road, Raila Odinga Way, then going towards Gong Road might be an easy escape for you, so you might want to consider that. If you are coming onto Mombasa Road, the Southern Bypass looks pretty good for you to then get into the city the long way and avoid all this drama that's happening in between. Other than that, it looks like traffic hour is going to come to an early close today. We'll keep an eye on things. Unfortunately, there's been quite a number of accidents this morning coming off a Thika Superhighway, coming off of Outer Ring. So let's be careful. Tafadhali. Let's talk on SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Classic soul, R&B, smooth jazz, neo soul, and nostalgic ballads.
Make some noise. Yeah.
You're listening to Spice FM. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself.
Mornings done right.
23 minutes to 9. We continue Kenya's biggest conversation, The Situation Room, broadcasting on Spice FM, on KTN Home, on YouTube and Facebook. I'm Eric Latiff. There's CT Muga Ndu Okoh. Our guest is Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda, talking about inequality in Kenya's secondary school subsector and the impact that this is having on future generations. CT.
You know, the picture that is being painted is a fairly gloomy one. You almost get the impression that there's very little that can be done to remedy it. Dr. in your opinion, what can we do to at least begin the process of remedying this situation?
A lot of things that we can do. It's not a lost cause. I'm sorry if my responses have given that impression. We just need a sub-county schools upgrading program. Stop pushing so much resources into the national schools that like we have been doing. Start with this 370 million that we want to still put in national schools and say, let us start upgrading sub-county schools. Let us make sure they have laboratories, they have libraries, and they have enough teachers. Because leaving the burden of hiring teachers to parents in sub-county schools, when we know that actually generally sub-county schools educate children from mostly poor households, is double jeopardy. So I think that we should start by making sure that in the next recruitment of teachers, we are deploying more teachers to sub-county schools.
But does the government have the capacity or ability to actually employ more teachers? I mean, because we have more teachers than we know what to do with.
The government has capacity if we put our minds in the right places.
Explain what you mean, please.
I think that if you look at the Ministry of Education, the way it's structured, and the Teacher Service Commission, the way it's structured, there are more officers there whose contribution to education is negligible. and we could actually do away with some of those offices and redirect those resources to recruiting teachers. So it's a matter of government has put enough money in education, by the way.
It has.
Yes, I think so. Kenya is one of the countries that have put a lot of resources in education. The challenge is the efficiency in utilization of those resources and
So
targeting what is most important.
We are misdirecting the money.
Yeah.
What is it? What percentage is the budget for education? Is it 30%?
27%.
27% of what we budget every year goes to education. That's a lot of money.
It's the highest.
800 plus billion shillings
It's the
every
highest.
year.
So, Dr. Manyasa, even as you're looking at this now, when we're saying, okay, in terms of absorption, that happens. Absorption happens. But then we're saying efficiency and effectiveness of this funding. We have officers who needn't to be there. We have programs maybe are outdated or are not accurate in terms of how they should be applied. Now, if anybody on the outside looking in can figure out that there's a problem here, how much more than the practitioners of the system by the Ministry of Education? Do they realize that there's an issue here? I'm sure you've had engagement with them. Do they realize that there's a problem?
A lot of practitioners within the ministry realize there is a problem. But when you're a small man or a small woman within the system, you don't really have so much leverage.
But many drops make the ocean, right?
They say where I come from, a court takes the shape of the where.
Right.
And in our structures, the way we govern this country, it is the top that makes decisions, and everyone else has to align. And that is a big problem.
There's a huge problem, and I think sometimes we look at it as a lot less than it should be. Education being a fundamental right of every child in this country, and where we've just come back from, just as an example of the current times in which we are at right now. So we look at the situation whereby the inequity that is rife from school to school around the country, from child to child, doesn't matter. But then we also look at the provisions that ought to be made for children. We are coming back in the Kenyan system, we are coming back after midterm right now. There's 3 weeks left in this term, 3 to 4 weeks left. And there are some children who have not reported to Form 1 today, right? For many reasons. One, the biggest one, is for lack of fees. Probably the second one also is, after that, is a placement problem, that they've not been placed in wherever. And there's not been adequate or proper placement that makes sense for them and also the school. Shouldn't it be that it should be streamlined in such a manner that whether you have the fees or not, as a child in this country, you should be able to go to school? And that you should get an education commensurate to anybody else in the country, doesn't matter what school they are going to.
That's why I've said we need to streamline how we use the funds that go to education. Today we have a national government bursary fund. We have county government bursary fund.
Yes.
We have member of parliament bursary fund. We
CDF.
have ward rep has a bursary fund. These monies, because they are scattered, they are actually used for political function optimization. We need to put all these funds into a basket. Where we can then be able to identify the children who need and pay their full fees, rather than a member of parliament calling 100 children in the constituency and saying, I have to spread money to be popular everywhere, giving everyone 2,000-3,000 shillings. At the end of it, the child who didn't have school fees still does not have fees. The child who had school fees has just more pocket money to go and now buy contraband and bring them to school. So we have misused that fund, and it is a lot of money. If we put it together, it will get a lot of children who are unable to go to school because of fees into school.
So it should be centralized. We've had this conversation here that everybody, is the king of their own fund and seeks popularity through that. If we consolidate these funds, we will not be having the problems we're having today.
And administered transparently, so that people who are able to pay are not benefiting from it.
Mm-hmm.
And it is targeting children who can't pay.
just
Because also telling principals that every child will come to school regardless of whether they pay fees is defeatist. That principal needs to feed children in school, needs to pay workers who clean the toilets, needs to do their services the principal has to provide in school, and they cost money. So telling the principal, let the children be in school without telling them how they will provide the services they ought to provide does not really help, does not solve the problem.
There are those who argue that part of the reason why this process was devolved is because these local politicians know and understand those who are most in need. And the argument is that if you have this huge body at the national level, unless you're saying there'll be this huge body, but its function will be cascaded to the 47 counties. So is that what you're saying?
In 1991, I was in Form 3.
1991?
Yes. I benefited from a presidential bursary. There was a structure that identified people who needed it up to the village level. And I was able to benefit. Today, you have given an MCA money, and this MCA must satisfy his supporters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He will play politics with the money.
So a politician naturally optimizes a political support function. And that is based on who supports me and what are their needs, so that they also meet my needs. It's not based on who really needs.
Yeah.
A few of them are going for the children who need. A few. I don't want to blame everyone. A few of the politicians are doing the right thing. They are identifying children who need and paying fees for them. Majority of them are using that fund
We
as a
had a
political
case the other
fund.
day when 5 MCAs are in the docks because they basically mishandle funds that were supposed to be going towards children's fees. This is a real situation that we are dealing with today.
By the way,
Today.
I subscribe to what you're saying because not too long ago I was a chairman of the board of a school in my back home. Okay. And, yes. And we had a fees arrears problem. And you know it was resolved. I got a new head teacher who understood how this system works. And she actually got the students who had not been able to pay and had fees arrears to apply to the county bursary fund. And literally all of them got funded.
Yeah.
So suddenly, that huge backlog of fees suddenly started seeming right. The money was always there.
The money, the government has put enough money in education to educate children in this country through school. That money is being misallocated.
Appropriated.
It's being misallocated and put on things that may not necessarily contribute to ensuring that every child gets a good education. And that is where we need to focus our energies. In terms of funding, that is where energies need to be focused. To get the resources already put in the sector utilized properly and targeted to the children who need. And when I talk about targeting, it's actually the whole system from primary to university. I don't understand, for example, why someone should take a child to, I don't want to name any private school, but there are private schools, pay 300,000 per term for this child in primary school. For this child to qualify to go to a national school and receive government capitation for fees that is now much less, much less. These parents should just be able to pay the full fees.
With
what they're required to pay would be much less.
It is much less. What they were required to pay in secondary school is much less than what they've been paying in a primary school. They should be able to continue to pay. Some of them even have employer schemes that pay those fees. They should be allowed to pay. And let this capitation come to schools to support children who can't raise fees.
But then the government treats all its children like they're all its children, all right? So capitation right now is at 22,240 per child per year in secondary school, whether you're in day school or in boarding school.
Mhm.
You said that we have some inequality in how this, or even inequity in how this money then is being used in supporting the school subsector. How many, if we look at sub-county, county, extra county and national schools, we obviously know that nationally we have fewer children in the national schools.
Less than 3%.
Less than 3% of the children who are in secondary schools are in national schools. This is about what? Out of 4 million, less than 3%. So we can look at the numbers. So more children in this country are in the sub-county schools, are in the county schools.
Yeah.
Which means that with 22,240 per child per year, the sub-county and county schools are receiving more money than the national schools are receiving.
On average, when you say they're receiving more money, in total, yes. But per school, in terms of being able to make a difference in that school, no. Because an average sub-county school has less than 400 learners.
Right.
Some have even 200.
Right.
So that is very little money when it reaches the school. And there is very little that the school principal can do with it in terms of developing the school. So I feel that we need to target in the next few years, create a program to upgrade those schools so that, one, we can distribute learners more equitably, because many of these big schools are super congested. Children sleep in dormitories like stacks
Triple
of
decker.
violating totally the guidelines given by the ministry on school safety and learner safety in those dormitories, because everyone wants their child to go there, and this everyone who is pushing their child there is not stupid. They know that is where learning is happening.
Yeah.
So they want their child to benefit.
Their child stands a better chance
by going to those schools. If we can make learning to happen in these other smaller schools, give them the means to make learning happen, then we will ease pressure on the few bigger schools. And we will now start to improve overall quality of education in the country. Because recall that in the last KCSE results, we had 46,000 E's. Yeah?
Yep.
If you score an E in Form 4, all the courses you qualify to do after that are courses that someone from class 8 has qualified to do.
Yeah.
Why did you have to spend 4 years in secondary school to go and do the artisan course that someone who has just left class 8 will be doing?
So how do you distribute the resources? Because I'm just trying to look at your proposal, which sounds solid. How can it best be implemented? So there is capitation. Would you propose that increase the capitation of children who are in sub-county and county schools, instead of just saying average uniform 22,000 per child? If you're in sub-county school, you get more? Or is it an extra budgetary allocation specific for infrastructure development and improvement in the sub-county and county schools?
We need to say, first we need to have an upgrading program that is separately funded, that will target putting up libraries, laboratories, and other facilities in those sub-county schools. That should be separately funded. The same way we have funded the national schools upgrading. That needs to be separately funded. Then
some sort of like an RRI over the next 5 years. We are
going to do this to upgrade all our sub-county schools. And one other thing that needs to be done in upgrading those sub-county schools is, first of all, stopping any establishment of new ones.
Okay.
Because there's something that people have tried to ask me to sit on boards to help set up some new secondary schools back home, and I've refused. Because when you set up a new secondary school in this sub-county, all that you have asked TSC to do is to go to one of the schools there and pick one of the best performing teachers and make them head of this one. Create a shortage of that teacher where they have left, and this one will only have this one teacher. So the learners here have only one teacher. The learners where these other teachers come from, let us expand the capacity of the schools that are there so that they accommodate more children. We consolidate the teachers together rather than spreading teachers thin, we consolidate them together and we enable learning to happen. I think also that we need to then say, out of this capitation, a certain percentage, say 30% of capitation will be given as a flat, 30 or 50% will be given as a flat amount for every school. We are giving every school 5 million, it will be 5 million for every school. And then after that, the rest of the capitation will be given will be on the basis of numbers of students. So that even that school with 100 students that just started the other day has some significant amount with which to build its facilities.
You know, it sounds like you're asking for an equalization fund.
That's it.
Yes.
In a way, yes, because our commitment to the Kenyan child is that we will give them an equal chance to get a quality education. Now, when exams come out and you distribute children, knowing that the institutions where you are sending them are not anywhere near equal, are we still keeping our promise to the children?
So then, from where you sit, is it absolutely possible then to have it, I mean, just thinking it through, to have a cross-border system so that every child getting into school has a fair shake at the same result? So that you're not having a situation whereby there are different elements or factors that are going to affect the outcome. Across board, it doesn't matter where you go to school. In Nairobi, in Nyamira, in Garissa, it doesn't matter where you go to school. That the system has been so set up that everybody has access to the same in terms of factors and elements for this education.
Yeah, it is possible if first of all, TSC ensured that the distribution of teachers is equitable, that is not biased in favor of the bigger schools. That is one. Two, if we ensured that we are upgrading facilities in the smaller schools to make them as good. Three, if we made sure that the capitation resources that we are giving those schools is equitable and fair. Four, if we also applied our brains more in terms of determining who gets the funds in terms of bursaries and other funds that the government is giving, to ensure that there is proper targeting. I think let us give everyone this much is a lazy approach. To me, it's a bit, it's an easier way, but it's a lazy one, because in the end, there isn't targeting to those of the children who actually need to benefit from all these public programs. And I know that there could be actors outside of government willing to put resources in supporting improvement in quality education. I know there are development partners that have been giving Kenya money to try and support improvement in quality education, especially in secondary school. But there are very many practical decisions that need to be reasoned out before being made. And if that happens, it is very possible that we can make it. We can make the learners' abilities and effort to be the only determinants of the differences in their results.
Dr. Manyasa, we're going to take a quick break and then come back and have a conclusion of this conversation with you. Just to say goodbye to the audience on KTN Home who've been watching us since the top of the hour. The conversations continue on SpiceFM and on YouTube and Facebook, where we are live streaming the show 2 minutes to 9.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
So, you okay, Siti, ask the final question. Let me know.
Do you think education should be devolved?
No. What needs to be devolved is infrastructure. In my view, I think that we need to devolve infrastructure development because if you are in Busia and the wind blows the roof of your classroom off, it is easier for you as a school principal to go to the county and tell the county boss, you see, there is no roof on my classrooms and children need to be in that school. It is easier to get attention. Because also the governor is being held accountable by the people there. for repairing that roof. If he doesn't repair, there is a political cost.
So
it is much harder to start writing to Okoh House to say, my roof has been blown off, and then some of the people receiving the letter in Okoh House don't even know where your school is.
Have no clue where Sigalame School is.
I went to Sigalame, by the way.
Yeah. Chief Leonard Orua says hello.
Thank you.
He's a former classmate of yours.
Thank you. Thank you.
Dr. Emmanuel Manyasa, thank you very much for joining us. It's been a very enlightening conversation. I would like to have you again.
I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Dr. Manyasa is the Executive Director of Usawa Agenda. We've been talking about inequality in Kenya's secondary school subsector. And this is having a huge impact on generations and generations of children. Keep it here for more conversations. It's 9 a.m.
Spice up your life. The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Settle. The government will impose a dusk to dawn curfew in Elgeyo Marakwet to pave way for security agencies to mount a security operation against banditry and deadly conflicts in the area. Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i announced that a massive disarmament operation will be launched alongside social development interventions to restore order in the area and other parts of the North Rift. The CS blamed the insecurity incidences on political incitement and expressed frustrations at the lack of goodwill and cooperation from area leaders. He compared the insecurity in Kerio Valley to the situation in Marsabit County, where an ongoing security operation has restored peace. Now, reports that Ndioka Waita had stepped down from Machakos gubernatorial race are false. A misleading statement that went viral on social media indicated that the former State House Chief of Staff had bowed out of the race to support Ovinya Ndeti. He clarified that his alleged stepping down was cheap propaganda by his opponents afraid of his gubernatorial bid. Waita has emerged as one of the front runners in the race to succeed Governor Alfred Mutua, alongside other aspirants including Johnson Mudhama and Machakos Deputy Governor Francis Maliti. White is vying under his party Chama cha Uzalendo, while Wavinya is the Wiper Party candidate after she bagged a direct nomination ticket. On the other hand, Mudhama is under Deputy President William Ruto's United Democratic Alliance Party, while Maliti is in the Maendeleo Chapcha Party. Property worth millions of shillings was gutted by fire in Machakos town yesterday evening. The fire, whose cause hasn't been immediately established, broke up at Juakali area of Machakos town, popularly known as Glocon, and spread all over, destroying furniture and other merchandise worth millions of shillings. Members of the public intervened to assist the traders rescue some of the property, but the swiftly advancing fire overwhelmed them. The county government fire extinguisher arrived after 3 hours from a distance of 500 meters away, but never managed to put off the huge fire as the vehicle lacked adequate water, forcing reinforcement from Athi River town, about 50 kilometers away. Unfortunately, the vehicle from Athi River town found everything having been ravaged by the mighty fire. Now, 5 people died when a train collided with a lorry that was crossing railway tracks in Ruiru, Kiambu County. According to police, the lorry transporting laborers is owned by a Chinese manufacturing company and was attempting to cross the tracks but underestimated the speed and distance of the oncoming train. 5 of the lorry's passengers attempted to avoid the impending collision by jumping from the vehicle but were knocked down by the train. 5 people died on the spot, according to Kiambu County Police Commander Mushangi Kioi, while 12 others were taken to hospital for medical attention after suffering serious injuries. And at least 20 people have been killed in a massacre in DR Congo's eastern province of Ituri, a respected monitor said, adding that the notorious ADF militia was suspected. The attack took place overnight in the village of Bwanasura in Irumu territory. The Kivu security tracker on Twitter said this. David Baiza, head of the Red Cross in Irumu, volunteers from his organization, counted 36 bodies at the site of the massacre. Ituri and neighboring North Kivu province are struggling with attacks by armed groups, many of them a legacy of wars in the Democratic Republic of Congo's east. And President Joe Biden's plan to reboot U.S. engagement with Latin America, especially on critical topics like migration, took a hit after key partner Mexico snubbed a regional summit opening in Los Angeles to protest Washington's exclusion of 3 far-left countries. What was meant to be a week-long showcase of cooperation risks becoming a display of division, underlining diminishing U.S. clout over a region where Washington's long-time economic and diplomatic influence faces a growing Chinese challenge. A senior White House official confirmed that Cuba, Nicaragua, and Venezuela were barred from the Summit of the Americas due to lack of democratic space and the human rights situation. In response, Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador said he too would stay away. This is Newswire. I'm Danny Sasseto. Good morning.
Okay, some traffic. We see it actually not as bad as it was earlier. In the middle of the city, however, is where it's quite crazy. On Uhuru Highway into the CBD and then out towards Westlands. Langata Road is still doing that craziness. It's looking a little bit better in the industrial area, but in the CBD is where we get the most action. Coming off Thika Superhighway, traffic more or less has dissipated. Just there at Muranga Road is where we'll see a little bit here and there. And at the Pangani Underpass. Kiambu Road also a lot better now. SpiceFM KE, let's talk in half an hour and see what's happening. Not to forget, folks who are heading west, going towards Kimende, visibility still really low, even after 9 o'clock. You need to use your fog lights. Don't think that because the day has broken that it's going to get better. Use your lights so that we can avoid accidents. And the traffic there is building up because folks are going slower, which is all right. Let's talk in a bit. SpiceFM KE on Twitter, text 40127.
This is The Situation Room, the home of hard-hitting political commentary and penetrating insights about the state of the nation. This is a talk radio experience like no other. The Situation Room, a place for hard truths, debates, and elevated conversations. The Situation Room, witty, political, engaging, deep, controversial. In the room, we have C.T. Muga, researcher, academic, seasoned political observer, a fountain of wisdom in these politically uncertain times. Ndu Okoh, Nigerian by birth, Kenyan by choice, communications expert, Pan-Africanist, a truth seeker and believer in people power, and Eric Latiff, agent provocateur, the man in the chair, seasoned journalist, news hound, a man who believes in punching up, not down.
7 minutes after 9. Good morning. It's the 7th day of. We have now come to April, at least to
April?
Yeah. Let's move into April. At least there's a road that's working. Whether the president has cut the ribbon or not, at least that section of the road is working. It's called the expressway. The other sections not yet complete, but okay. City, how's the day's proverb before we welcome our next guest?
Our last proverb from the Comoros. A thread follows the path of the needle.
Thread follows path of the needle.
Very wise.
It's a wise one.
Yes.
Dr. Ekuru Okot, what do you understand? What do you read from that proverb?
A thread follows the path
of the needle.
Of the needle.
Of the needle. I must say, I don't know what to decipher from it, but I'm happy for City to educate me.
Nice say.
What we agreed on was that each of those instruments are known. We know what threads are, we know what needles are. But they make more sense when they work together.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
On their own, their functionality can be in doubt. When they're together, there's no doubt.
Yes.
What they do is something that can be seen. They produce something. They end up bringing up something into being.
So they're effective together.
Yes. If each on their own may not necessarily achieve it.
Yes. Yes. I appreciate that.
Dr. Okot, how are you?
I'm very well, Eric.
You're well health-wise.
I'm very well. Even mentally, whatever, physically. I thank God.
Aye. Are you sure?
Yeah.
You don't have any bile, some extra secretion of bile in your system?
Why will that be the case? I'm only told as I was coming here to shop for an helmet because there are people who are very unhappy with our decision to object to our candidate's nomination. So that's the only worry I have, but it doesn't really bother me because I respect and obey the law. So the law must be followed at all times, regardless of who you are.
A number of things have happened in the last couple of weeks. You'll tell us those things that have happened. Number one, the last time you were here, you were saying that you want to be the next president of Kenya. In fact, you were going to be on the ballot.
Yes.
We have seen the ballot, a copy of the ballot.
Yes.
And the name Nakuru Okoh is not here.
That's true.
So you'll tell us how come. 2 days ago, you wrote to the chairman of the IEBC, Wafula Chebukati, and the headline of your letter, complained on nomination of Raila Amolo Odinga as a presidential candidate.
Absolutely.
You're complaining that IEBC has cleared Raila?
Yes.
Okay.
That he ought not to have been cleared. Because let's start from this, because I think Kenyans must understand the law. Party called Azimio la Umoja, one
Kenya
Alliance, coalition party. Its membership is corporate. So the members of Azimio la Umoja is ODM, Na Kenya, Jubilee, KANU,
DAP Kenya,
Wiper,
and others.
Exactly. Now, under the Political Parties Act, only natural persons can be members of a political party. And you must register 1,000 members in a majority of counties, being 24 counties. Meaning each political party must have a threshold. The constitutional threshold is of 24,000 natural persons.
Living persons.
Living persons.
Yes.
Living persons registered as members by the IEBC.
Okay.
Now, I have no problem if Azimio wanted to nominate a candidate, but the candidate cannot be a living person called Raila Amolo Odinga. It can either be ODM, Na Kenya, Wiper, and those people cannot be found in the register of voters by IEBC. Wiper today cannot go to the polling station and vote. City, are we together?
I need you to say that again. Let's start from the
ODM.
Let's start with the Political Parties
the political
Amended Act
Let's
Yeah,
start with the
of
act.
2022.
Exactly.
Okay.
The amendment of 2022, Political Parties Amendment Act of 2022, exempted coalitions from being members. It exempted actually Azimio or coalitions. Now,
From?
yeah,
It exempted them
from having natural members, living persons.
Let's start with
Yes.
this new law allows a coalition party to be created.
Yes.
And then the new law says a coalition party shall be a creation, shall be formed by individual parties joining.
Yes.
And not individual human beings joining.
Mhm.
So it's the membership of a coalition party
Is
political
parties.
parties as corporate entities.
Yes.
Okay.
So
up to there we are together.
We are together.
Now,
so
participation in an election.
If a political party, and in this particular case, the Azimio la Umoja Coalition Political Party, has to nominate a person, a member, its member, to run for election, it can only be that corporate body, not a living person.
Because no living person can be a member of a coalition party.
No. It's only political parties. And in this particular case, we are talking about ODM, Na Kenya, KANU, and the rest. So I have no problem if Azimio la Umoja were to nominate a candidate.
I understand that, but I've got to ask you a question. And if we're going, because we're splitting hairs here, so I've got to ask a question that will now make this clearer in my mind. Does the Act explicitly say that it is only parties that can form a coalition, or does it also say that it cannot then have living members register as candidates? What does it say?
The law is very
explicit. Of those things?
Let me tell you, the law is very explicit. You see, these people make their own bed. They must sleep on that same bed. Because they created this law for their own personal political interest. And the assumption they made was that members of a political party, I mean a coalition political party, in this particular case, Azimio la Umoja, yeah, can fill in a candidate who is a living person. The law is explicit. Only political parties can be members of a coalition political party.
That it says.
So
All
if they have to fill in a candidate, again, I say again, it can only be a member of that political coalition party, not a living person. And by the way, let's contrast with the Kenya Kwanza Alliance. Kenya Kwanza Alliance actually were clever when they gave William Ruto a UDA certificate because he's a member of UDA. It's also a coalition of parties.
Yeah.
Kenya Kwanza Alliance is a coalition of political parties. But they were clever enough to know that they cannot give William Ruto a certificate of Kenya Kwanza Alliance. They gave him a certificate of UDA. Now, on the other side, the guys who are used to impunity in this country, who do not even read the law, do not understand anything, they believe that Kenya belongs to them, who are foolish enough to give their candidate a certificate called Azimio la Umoja, One Kenya Coalition Party.
I want to take you back a little bit because I was.
But are we now together so far?
I understand what you're saying.
Yes.
I understand what you're saying now. This process that ends up with the IEBC giving someone the okay to have their name on the ballot box. At some point, the registrar of political parties plays a part. What is the process that people walk through to the point where they actually get to the IEBC, to that panel, and then declared?
Yeah.
What is it?
So City, let's start it from this way. I have formed a political party.
Yes.
And for my party to be fully registered, I must approach living persons who are registered members, voters in Kenya.
Yes.
Okay? Then I must make sure that my party has garnered at least 1,000 registered members in a majority of countries, which is 24,000.
Yes.
24,000 living persons, registered voters. Okay? And that's why the ORPP, Office of the Registrar of Political Parties, comes in. It's the ORPP that actually gives you the certificate of registration. ORPP works with the IEBC. The IEBC will then verify and say, okay, the party you've given us are its members in our voter register. If it says okay, then you're good to go. Okay? Now, if my political party like Third Way Alliance Kenya nominates me to run for office, the process we went through, in fact, this is very interesting. The process we went through Sunday, first thing I did was to present my papers. There are several checklists. Okay? The second person I appeared before was an officer from ORPP. And that officer went to now the register. I said, Kuru, give me your ID. I gave him my ID. This is my ID. He actually checked. He showed me, okay, you're a registered voter. You're voting in Kapedo Girls Primary. Then we went to the next stage where we issued the declaration. Now, let's come to this Azimio la Umoja Coalition.
Did this ORPP person confirm that you are a member of
Third Way Alliance Kenya? Yes. He confirmed. His name was Nyongesa.
Okay.
So that was second checklist. Are you actually a member of a political party? Now let's come to the Azimio la Umoja guy. If Nyongesa was, and this is where the mischief is. If ORPP was to be honest, there is no member of Azimio la Umoja coalition political party called Raila Amolo Odinga. The membership will be ODM, Na Kenya, Wiper, but not a living person. Let me tell you, City, this watu wanajitengezea sheria bado na wakaranga their own law.
You know the reason why I asked that question?
Yes.
Because from what you're saying,
yes,
I get the impression that you're saying the ORPP don't know what they're doing.
Yes.
IEBC don't know what they're doing.
Or they know, but they're deliberately doing it because of this whole issue of impunity, in my view, because they don't follow the law.
Or are we saying that you have presented an interpretation of the law as you understand it, and they have an interpretation that is different from yours?
Yeah, but you see, this is not rocket science. The membership of a political party are registered Kenyan voters. It's like you saying today, let a foreigner come here in Kenya and run for president of Kenya. First, you will not be in the register. That's a fact. This is not rocket science, you know. So for you to vote,
So
for you to vote CT, you have to be in that voter register.
The bone of contention.
You don't
here,
necessarily need to be a member of a political party, but you have to be a registered voter.
The bone of contention here.
And for you to run for office, Eric, you must be nominated by a political party.
That's right.
Yeah?
Right.
And I have no problem with Azimio La Umoja nominating one of its members.
Right.
But who is the member they nominated?
So is there a part of this law, and that is where we've arrived at actually, is there a part of this law that allows a coalition party to pick an individual as its flag bearer, as a candidate?
No.
Nowhere in the law.
A political party can only nominate a member.
No. Here in this particular case, we are moving from the previous political parties as we know them to a coalition political party.
Yes.
A coalition political party shall participate in elections.
Yes.
That's the reason why they are forming coalition political parties. We have this law. Now, understanding that a coalition political party can participate in elections, having institutional members, does the law not give them leeway that as a coalition political party,
let's read the amendment.
One of your members, which is ODM, for example, can nominate, and the others can agree that the ODM member is the flag bearer for purposes of an election.
Eric.
And then it says that if a member of ODM comes, it can be the coalition political party flag bearer.
That can be a convenient interpretation. The law is straight here, very straight and narrow. Only a member of a political party, and in this particular case is a coalition of political parties, can be nominated by that party to run for public office. So, I have no problem, again, I repeat this, I have no problem with Azimio La Umoja political party nominating its member. Let us know who is that member that they have nominated.
Okay.
And in any case, Eric, we cannot now excuse, conveniently rely on one part of the law and ignore the other. For example, for you to get a certificate of full registration, that's what it's called under the ORP, the Political Parties Act. For you to get a certificate of full registration to be called a political party, you must have 24,000 members living registered by IEBC.
Okay.
So,
why has this become an issue now, Okoh? And the question is then, why have you figured this out now?
No. Not now. I had not figured this out now.
When did this come about? We heard about this 2 days ago that you wrote this letter. When did all of this come about?
Because I could not object to somebody who has not been nominated as a candidate.
So you waited until he was declared a candidate and received his nomination certificate in order to do that?
You cannot preempt something that has not happened.
We have to wait. There's a principle of law called ripeness.
Okay.
So a matter has to be ripe for you to be able to go to court.
Okay.
Now, there's no way I could have gone academically and said, I suspect so-and-so will be nominated. It will be an exercise in futility. So I had to wait for the facts to happen. And remember, we had even actually raised a complaint against Raila, Kalonzo, Mudavadi, and Ruto on early campaigns and using state resources. But you know what they told us? No, but we don't know whether they will run. We don't know whether they will be nominated. And some of that prediction actually was true. We thought Kalonzo will run because we had objected. We thought Mudavadi will run. And we had raised the issue about the fact that these are actually public officers. But now, one of our suspicion has come true. That one person called Raila Amolo Odinga is actually been nominated. But the question then, by who? It's not ODM that has nominated Raila Amolo Odinga. It is the...
Let me ask.
By the way, let's read the law. Eric, I wish you had warned me about this issue. I would have come with a copy of the political parties.
You can find it online. You just go into...
but you see, you've done your research. So tell me where there is an exception.
What I'm looking at is actually several pieces. Now, this is a communique on the Political Parties Act as amended by the political parties with respect to the August 9th general election. This was an advisory issued by the Office of the Registrar of Political Parties. It says the Political Parties Act is an act of Parliament. Obviously, the Office of the Registrar wishes to draw the attention of Kenyans to various elements of the Act and related issues, and as highlighted below. Now, I want to talk about what you talked about, coalition political parties. A coalition political party, being a political party, is qualified to participate in all the 6 elections and all electoral areas. Registered members of political parties in a coalition political party, subject to nomination rules in coalition agreement, are the only ones eligible to participate in the nomination of candidates of a coalition political party. Right? Then it jumps. We go into, upon the submission of a coalition agreement and subject to fulfilling other requirements under the Political Parties Act, the ORPP is required to issue a coalition political party with a certificate of full registration. The coalition agreement, as read with nomination rules, shall determine development of party lists for allocation of special seats. The coalition agreement, as read with nomination rules, shall determine the elective seats and electoral areas in which the coalition political party shall field candidates. There's a repetition here of election rules of the coalition political party, which has been registered as a party. Do you know what the election rules of Azimio Coalition Party are? Is it possible that the rules say that parties shall nominate, because we saw that's what they did, parties shall nominate members for consideration as flag bearer.
Yeah.
And parties all agreed. Jubilee stood up and said, we have no they met and they said, we are supporting ODM's choice. Others said the same. And ODM said, we are nominating Raila as our person.
Yeah.
So Azimio then agreed that ODM's choice of Raila is the one that is acceptable to all the members of the coalition political party. The question now, though, is do the nomination rules of Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Political Party allow for the nominee of a political party?
So let them come and say these are our rules of nomination. But as far as I know, according to the law, first of all, I mean, do you know the rules of my political party?
No.
You don't know? No. So I don't know about the rules of nomination for Azimio. For me, what I'm interpreting directly is the rule of law. And the rule of law is very clear.
Would it go contrary to the law if the nomination rules allow for an ODM candidate to become the Azimio flag bearer under Azimio?
Well, first of all, let's go to the hierarchy of laws and rules. A rule, a regulation of a political party cannot be superior to a substantive statutory provision. A statutory provision here is very clear that for you to be a political party and to nominate anybody, that person has to be a member of your political party. So a statutory provision here is superior than a regulation of a rule of a political party, whether it's nomination or not. Again, it cannot, even the statutory provision cannot supersede a constitutional provision. And the Constitution also is absolutely clear. Only a living person can run for elective office, not a corporate body.
What I hear you to be saying, Doctor, is that all these legal minds that are in Azimio missed this thing completely. Or they saw it, but didn't give a hoot.
They interpreted it in their own, to suit.
Yeah, well, I'm putting it bluntly, they didn't give a hoot. They decided, this is what we're going to do, so let's
there'll be no Ekuru to figure this out. So, we can just move on.
So it can be either, City, you could be right, you could be wrong. But let's also not forget that in this country, we are living in impunity every day, where people do not think that they can be questioned, where some people think that Kenya belongs to them and only they can be Kenyans. That is part of the problem here. People pass laws. For example, let me give you an example of why impunity in this country is excused. You know, an act of parliament called the Retirement Benefits Act, into bracket, vice president and designated persons. Okay? Now, that law was intentionally created to suit certain individuals. And that law makes these individuals permanent public officers. This is something we also raised in the context of Raila, in the context of Kalonzo, Mudavadi, and who is the other person? And any public officer anyway, who seeks to run for public office. And that's why, through our taxes, we hire an office for them, we hire an accountant for them, we give them some stuff. Every 4 years, we give them motor vehicles. And they are described as advisors to the government in the public office. Okay? Now, this is a law that was actually passed. And if you recall, and this is where we all take this opportunity to educate Kenyans, if you recall, after Raila Kalonzo lost to Uhuru Kenyatta and Ruto, they were told, either you retire from, or you miss your benefits, pensions. Okay? They refused. Uhuru and Ruto decided you're not going to get even a single penny until the handshake happened. That's when they started getting payments from the Retirement Benefits Act. Okay? I'm giving you a long route so that you can understand the impunity in this country. Now, if you look at the 2021-2022 budget,
where's the impunity here?
Wait, I'll come to that.
You're getting there.
I'll get there. I'll get there. If you look at the 2021-2022 budgetary estimate, there is an individual called Raila Amolo Odinga who was awarded 98 million Kenya shillings, including 31.6 million to refurbish his houses. I don't know what those houses are. Okay? There is another individual, late now, called Emilio Mwai Kibaki, was given 97 million. There's Kalonzo, there's Mudavadi, and you can read that budget. It's not me making it up. Okay? Now, these laws are made for individuals. It is the same philosophy that's now being applied in the philosophy or lack of it, in this Political Parties Act, that we make laws to suit individual interests. And it's now coming to bite them. And that's also another matter we raised, which people are not asking us, why did we raise this issue about the RBA? Now they are conveniently asking us, Ekuru, why are you raising this issue? Is it because you are not qualified? You are disqualified by IEBC?
Sour grapes.
It does not, no. You see,
but where's,
let me ask you.
I still don't get you see the Uhuru and Ruto come in, say, if you don't retire, you don't get the benefits.
Yes.
Handshake comes, benefits which had been rescinded earlier on is reinstated. Okay, so explain to me.
And that makes you now a public officer under the law, under the RBA Act.
Yes, that one I got. Where's the impunity? Is it on the part of those who are in government or on the part of those who were not receiving?
Those who refused to
retire.
Both.
Not receiving.
Both ways.
How?
Because, for example, Uhuru Kenyatta conveniently decides, in 2013, why didn't he pay Raila and Kalonzo their retirement benefits? Yet the law was there, and you remember the debate.
They had a right to expect those dues.
Exactly, by law.
Irrespective of whether they retired, didn't retire.
No. The retirement is very specific, CT. You want to benefit, because listen, there's a specific provision in that act that places you as a public officer and as an advisor to the government.
Yes.
And on the basis of that,
so you cannot hold any other state office.
Exactly. You cannot hold any other state office. And this is the issue that we raised. That is the impunity I'm talking about, where people go to parliament and actually make laws to benefit themselves. And when you point it out, people say, no, you cannot. It's utadu.
Let's take a break. This is interesting. Okay.
No, but I want us to be clear, Eric, that the issues we are raising are real and they are in the law.
They are.
Ekuru Court did not make these laws.
They are. And that's why you're going to court, to seek proper interpretation.
We will.
Right? So, Dr. Ekuru Court of the Third Way Alliance, he was not qualified by the IEBC to be in the presidential election come August 9th. He'll tell us why. You are Dr. Ekuru Court, surely you must have a degree.
Watch out, Eric. 2017. 2017, I was clear.
You lied.
Today, I can parade to you over probably 2,000 students, Kenya School of Law students that I have taught. Could I have taught law without a degree,
Obviously,
honestly?
you have a degree.
Okay.
Come on.
So you'll tell us why you are not
It's
qualified.
a joke.
Hold on. It's 28 minutes to 10. Let's talk about Istiqbal. It's a quality Turkish home furniture. Are you looking for such quality Turkish home furniture? Visit Istiqbal today and enjoy a discounted rate of 20% off until the 31st of June 2022. Located at Panisar Center on Mombasa Road at the Village Market and Westside Mall in Nakuru. Hurry and furnish your dream home today. Shop at istiqbalkenya.com. 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 Istiqbalkenya.com.
One more time.
If you have an account with KCB, with ABSA, or with DTB, you can actually go online right now, purchase your furniture, the one that you want. You saw some green.
I saw a green couch, man.
Nice looking green couch. Okay. If you want that green couch before Ndu gets it, so go on to istiqbalkenya.com and you can actually purchase, and it's delivered to you. A free delivery in Nairobi or Nakuru. It's delivered to you right today, and then you'll pay malipo ya pole pole. We'll be back shortly.
This is the Situation Room, the only way to start your day.
Hey, have you heard about Mbuzi24.com?
Mbuzi what? No! What is it?
Mbuzi24.com delivers farm fresh products such as meat, cheese, eggs, herbs, and more straight to your door. Fresh and reasonably priced. And imagine, it's free delivery.
Mbuzi24.com. Farm fresh food. Order now and get free delivery in Nairobi. Goat meat only 545 Kenya shillings per kilogram.
No, you know, this wheelbarrow, how can you give people wheelbarrow? His party symbol is an umbrella. Is he distributing umbrellas in Makueni?
Have you been told if we don't lock between 10 to 4, this is what we're saving?
You try and call them, the same person who was in your house every day, because they know you are influential and you will give them votes. Call them after 1 month and see if they'll pick up their phone.
Don't tell your member of parliament that you want him to come and build a school, you want him to come and do a hospital. That is not the work of the member. Now that we have devolution in this country, these resources should go to those devolved units.
You have to have strong, independent institutions. And I mean, you have to have police who has the right to take the biggest town in the country and question, why did you do this and that, and send them to court if necessary.
Joel in Kericho, good morning.
Salama sana Eric, habari ya asubuhi.
Salama kabisa. Mbunge wako ni nani?
Anaitwa Seriousness Maritim, hapa ni Ainamoi.
Seriousness Maritim, Ainamoi.
Yes. Sasa ile juma nampambia yeye nini? Amalize aende.
Oh wow.
Asante sana.
That's it. Clouds are up in Nairobi at 17, highs of 24 and lows of 15 today. Mostly cloudy at 18 in Nakuru. We'll see highs of 24 and lows of 14. 14 will also be the low in a mostly cloudy Nyeri at 18 after the rain. And 16 and partly sunny in Eldoret, highs of 21 and lows of 14. It's also cloudy in Mombasa at 24. We'll see highs of 28 and we'll also see highs of 28 in a rainy Malindi, currently at 24. It's partly sunny in Kisumu at 24. We'll see highs of 28 and 25 will be the high in a partly sunny Kakamega, currently at 24, coming down to lows of 16. Kampala is sunny at 24, highs of 26 and lows of 19, while Dar es Salaam is cloudy at 26. We'll see highs of 30 and lows of 23. Johannesburg now warming up to 10 degrees. We'll see highs of 19 and lows of 6, while in Lagos it's mostly sunny at 24 with highs of 31. 31 would also be the high in Kinshasa, where it's sunny at 22. Going into Tuesday evening, Beijing is sunny at 27, highs of 28 and lows of 16, while Paris is cloudy at 16. We'll see highs of 23 and lows of 14. 15 in London and sunny, highs of 19 and lows of 12, while New York still Monday night is 20 degrees. Coming into Tuesday, we'll see highs of 24 and lows of 15.
Spice up your life.
The traffic is easing on Langata Road this morning as you're going towards Raila Odinga Way out into the city. Raila Odinga Way will be an easy option to get off of that traffic there. And we're also seeing on Uhuru Highway that is reducing a little bit here and there. Landis Road is a mess. Inbound traffic going towards Kamkunji and then spilling over to Haile Selassie Avenue does not look pretty at all. Is there another way to get into the city? If you're coming off Landis Road, you might want to think about that. Coming off Thika Superhighway, much better now. It's a breeze. You can get through to the Bangani underpass without too much of a headache. So, traffic hour officially over in terms of minutes. Let's see what it does through the morning. Talk to us. SpiceFM KE on Twitter. Text 40127.
Business news with SpiceFM.
I'm Dennis Aseto. Kenya's business confidence continues to decline 2 months before the general election scheduled for August 8th. The Stanbic Bank Purchasing Managers Index has revealed, noting that the issue has further been compounded by uncertainty over the supply chain, inflation and geopolitical tension caused by the Ukraine-Russia war. According to the survey, which was conducted between May 12th to 27th, business confidence registered a survey record low for the third month running. Pwani Oil, the manufacturer behind the Solid Oil, Pishipoa and Fresh Fry cooking oil products, has announced the temporary halt of its operations, citing, among others, the dollar shortage witnessed in the country, which has taken a toll on several manufacturers. This comes barely a week after the Kenya Association of Manufacturers warned that the ongoing dollar shortage in the country poses a serious threat to the sector members who rely on dollars to import key raw materials and inputs for processing and capital goods for investing. Sendi, a tech company that builds fulfillment infrastructure for e-commerce and consumer brands, has joined Google in an initiative aimed at empowering Africa's small and medium businesses. The bootcamp program, dubbed Google Hustle Academy, seeks to provide MSMEs across Kenya, Nigeria and South Africa with expert training on business strategy and development, digital marketing and financial planning. The free week-long online bootcamp targets to support 5,000 MSMEs by helping them scale and grow through positioning for investment, increasing revenue, and building sustainable businesses for the future. Ethiopia's central bank has told Ethiopians not to engage in illegal transactions in digital currencies. The National Bank of Ethiopia said digital currencies like cryptocurrencies and bitcoins haven't been recognized by the NBE as a transactional and payment method. It warned that digital currencies are being used to conduct informal financial transactions and money laundering schemes in Ethiopia. For Spice Business, I'm Dennis Aseto.
Spice FM Business. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM.
It continues. Eric Latiff, Okoh, CT Muga, and Dr. Ekuru Aukot from the Third Way Alliance wanted to be on the presidential ballot. Is not on the presidential ballot. What happened?
First of all, the presidential ballot has not been printed. Actually, every aspirant has got 2 weeks to appeal.
Okay.
And what we have done is we have requested, because let me go to the reasons why Chebukati allegedly disqualified me. He said that reason number 1, insufficient signatures and no identification documents attached. Okay. We have requested for an audit because we presented signatures from 26 counties. To be more specific, 52,000 signatures from registered voters.
Okay.
In his address to the nation, when
those
he was
56,000,
yeah?
there were at least 2,000 from.
Yeah, so you need a minimum of 48,000. We gave 52,000, and you have asked that question. Give us an audit of how you verified our signatures. What are the
from the
shortfalls?
requisite 24 counties.
24 counties, but we went beyond. Actually, we had given 27 counties, only that one of the batches, physically, we could not submit it on time.
Okay.
But we actually gave 26 counties.
Okay.
Now, we have requested formally, give us an audit of how you verified those signatures. Tell us also which are these counties that we fell short of. Okay? Chebukati himself says that we only presented signatures from 23 counties. So he does not acknowledge that we actually gave 26. And you see, when we took these signatures, Eric, it was the basis upon which we actually scheduled, given an appointment to appear before Chebukati on the 5th.
Yep.
So if we had not submitted the requisite number of signatures, there's no way we could have been in the ballot. Particular case is that of Mwangi wa Iria. Mwangi wa Iria could not even be scheduled. Wajakoya was told you have only presented signatures from 17 counties. You are short of 7 counties, and he was given time to go and regularize.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then there was Mwaura, given the same opportunity. Even he had not met the minimum counties, but he was given time to go and regularize. So one of the questions that we have raised, we have asked Chebukati, why then did you schedule us, give us an appointment if you knew we were short of these signatures? Why do you treat us differently, the same
from the others?
From the others, you know. So that's a question we are asking.
So
and in any
from where you sit, you presented 52,000 signatures accompanied by copies of IDs.
No. The only thing I will admit, Chebukati would have told me, Ekuru, I'm disqualifying you because you did not submit copies of identity documents. And we have an explanation for that. I don't know whether you saw our objection to that. This is under regulation 18 of the nomination, whatever, election rules. Now, we told Chebukati, that's not the Constitution. The Constitution of Kenya, Article 137, is very specific. A candidate for office of the president must only provide 2,000 signatures from a majority of counties. That is 48,000. The rule you are introducing is inferior to the Constitution of Kenya. It's also inferior to the Act of Parliament. So, and this rule, we asked him, this rule was there in 2017 because the rules were passed in April of 2017. You cleared me in 2017 and gave me a certificate dated 28th of May 2017 to run for president of Kenya. What has changed? There's another fact, Eric. Will you today, let me ask you, Odu, will you today give somebody a copy of your ID?
Be difficult.
Especially politicians. Today.
One that I support, yes.
Yeah? A copy of your ID?
Yes.
Come on, Eric. Let me tell you. I've done raw politics. I don't know what.
You ask me that same question.
Okay, City.
Never.
I mean, let's be honest. The trust index is pretty low.
Yes, and let me now give you the practical experience. When we went out there telling people, they told us, no, Ekuru will support you because of your punguza mizigo.
I'll sign, but
lakini ID yangu sikupati. I cannot give you my ID. People are even citing examples like today with SIM swap, people lose money overnight. I give you my ID with my signature. See, even my house you will sell. So that is an impractical. And we have done our intel, by the way. No single presidential candidate out there went photocopy. Do you know what that means? For example, I'm going to my native Turkana, Landuko, Lokitang, Tudonyang, both sides, to collect signatures. It means I will have to walk around with a generator, a photocopier, ink cartridges, and now people are even saying, no, you have to pay for it. 300 to 500. That's what people are asking.
To give you my ID.
We said
per
no.
person, right?
Yes, that is electoral malpractice. And in fact, the cost for you to collect those signatures was coming to about 20 million. 20 million Kenya shillings. So it's an impracticality.
So that was
So are you
that
saying
was one
that
of the reasons.
Chebukati did not say that this was an issue and the reason why he declared he could not give you the certificate?
Yes.
He did not bring up this issue.
Photocopies.
Of photocopies?
Yes.
He didn't?
He brought it.
Okay, he did.
And we objected. And we had gone there prepared and we raised various concerns about this rule. First of all, it's not even the constitutional threshold to begin with. The constitutional threshold is under Article 137 that I can only be a Kenyan citizen, member of a political party, be nominated by a political party, present 48,000 signatures from a majority of counties. And all that we met. I met the constitutional threshold. So you cannot introduce a rule that you've been sitting on for the last 4 years and which you did not apply in 2017.
Why are you saying that he was sitting on it? I mean, it is gazetted as a rule. So everybody in this country has been sitting on that knowledge. That for elections, this is what.
And we asked the question, why then didn't you apply this rule in 2017? Because it was there from April 2017. The nominations happened in May. Election was in August.
You know what I've always found interesting? When a debate now cascades and centers on legal issues.
Yes.
Every side that presents a case, every case seems very plausible. And you listen and say, yes.
But City.
For me, the argument would be complete if I now heard from the other side telling us why it is they've taken this position and then quoting legal precedent and all the legal jargon that normally follows it. I am not saying what you're saying does not make sense. No. I am simply saying the moment a discussion centers on legality of issues, the argument you present, convincing. But I would like to hear what the other side have to say to see how convincing their argument is. Because, and I think...
Give us a date with the IEBC tomorrow. We come here, we debate again, this same issue.
That, I think, is something we will consider.
Yes.
Won't we, Eric?
Yeah. We're more than happy to appear with them here and we discuss it.
Go to court. Let the court interpret the law.
No, but let's also, Eric, let's also take the opportunity to educate Kenyans. I mean, this is civic education for free.
That's true.
For which I'm not even being paid for.
Yeah.
So let's educate Kenyans
we're not charging you.
on the law. Exactly. But also,
So that was
but
one
also to point out the reality, Eric. I mean, you have had CT. You've had
It will be
never.
difficult.
I will never give anybody. You see, the
It will
only
be
government
difficult.
entity today or institution that have got photocopies of IDs are very few. Either Immigration Department, NTSA, and maybe banks
and
Could let me ask the
and
question.
registrar of persons.
Let me ask you this
But
question.
even registrar of person does not have a photocopy of your ID.
Let me ask the
have all your
question.
details.
I want to
All
ask
your
this question,
biometrics.
please, if I may.
Yeah.
Who owns my ID?
The government.
The government of Kenya.
Precisely. So when I enter a building and they ask me to leave my ID, should I actually leave them with my ID?
Actually, no. Actually, no. Because let me tell you, with technology today, I think we are still being archaic in the way we do things. Surely, today, I mean, for me, like, this is one of the issues we raised. I am not a newcomer into the presidential race.
No.
I was there before.
Yep.
In fact, twice.
Yep.
Yeah? Meaning, honestly, you have my details. You cannot be asking me today, degree certificate not certified. Can you imagine? This is one of the second grounds.
Yours?
Yes. That's what Chebukati said of me.
Just hold on.
Yeah?
Meaning what? That you do not have a recognized, or you do not have a certificate
Who's
from a
supposed to
recognized
certify it?
university.
Yeah.
Who's supposed to certify it?
Who certifies this?
Is the person who doubts. Because
You,
for me,
Dr.
I do
Ekuru
not doubt. I swear, Eric, here, I send you this.
Please read it.
But certified.
May
Okay.
I read it?
Yes.
Okay. So what it says.
Look at ground number 2.
Ground.
Yeah, by hand.
Okay.
By hand.
Application rejected due to the following reasons: insufficient signatures, no identification documents attached. Number 2, degree certificate not certified.
Yeah.
Actually, mine was certified. I came with a commission of oaths. I mean, I earned with my personal lawyer. Yeah, and he even carried the stamp in case there was anything they doubted.
It's certified right there.
Yes.
So why would they say it's not certified?
I
If
don't
that
know.
was the
This is a
reason?
question you need to ask.
Wait,
Chebukati.
remember, even what Walter was telling us here earlier,
Yeah.
there were more than one word, certified and verified or something like that.
Yeah.
But are you supposed to go to the Kenya National Qualifications Authority or the Commission for University Education?
Or the institution,
Or the
institution that
You
gave you
attended,
the
to give you
yes.
this
To first of
certification.
all say that, yes, this is legit, it's from us.
So let's draw another. Okay, finish the third
The
one.
last one is interesting. Banker's check incorrectly addressed.
Oh, wait.
I did not draw the check myself. It is actually my bank, NCBA, that drew the check to IEBC.
But you gave instructions.
Yeah, I gave instructions. I told him, I mean, it's a banker's check, it's not my check.
So what does incorrectly addressed mean?
I don't know.
It means that you address it to Chebukati when you should have been addressing it to
IEBC.
No, the check is addressed to IEBC.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Was it
Okay,
supposed
yes.
to be addressed to IEBC or to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission in full?
Yes, maybe.
You know,
But-
Is that
you know
really
you're the
grounds
lawyer
to
here.
reject it, seriously speaking?
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually,
How is that ground? No.
Actually, yes.
Today, can a check addressed to KPLC be rejected?
If somebody wants to
Yeah?
be granular,
Yeah?
they can.
No, boss, I've written checks to KPLC. They have never been returned.
Because they have an account under KPLC.
Yeah.
Yes.
If IEBC does not have an account under IEBC,
she
if their account is Independent
This is my
Electoral and Boundaries
question here,
Commission,
guys. I think we need to be a little bit realistic here.
Yes.
IEBC can be anybody.
Sure,
Can
that's
be innocent.
understandable. But here
Enoch
you are, and you
Bosire.
know this. A banker's check is as good as cash.
It's
in
cash.
hand.
It's cash.
So if the address is wrong, and honestly, it is a sticking point. If the address is wrong, should that be something that contributes to you being chucked out the window?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
No,
say, come
cannot be,
on,
man.
fix the
Cannot be.
address. We
Cannot
know
be.
you have the money.
This man
Fix
wants to
the
be
address.
president.
Yeah.
Next thing he's going to pay our China debt to USA.
No. Listen, you see, the check can only be
Ukraine.
Oh, Ukraine.
Galia, the check can
better.
only be rejected once you present it to the bank, and the bank can then verify it's bank to which account. So this is flimsy, stupid, silly reasons why Chebukati actually
on the
rejected.
check matter, Ekuru, I'm with you. On the check issue, I'm with you. However,
What about certificate? Let's talk about my certificate.
The certificate that needed to be verified. Your commissioner of oaths was with you.
Yes.
That verified, sure. But then they're also asking.
I even carried the hard copy,
for
the original copy.
For the education body to say yes, this fella attended our institution. That was that verification done by your good selves.
Did you do
No,
that?
you see,
Did you have anything from the
you
Kenya
see,
National
Eric,
Qualifications Authority? Or
I will
the
never.
Commission for University
Do you
Education?
doubt your certificate? CT, do you doubt your certificate?
No.
Listen, in any case, wait, give hear me.
I'm not the institution required to verify it.
Yes.
I think verification goes outside myself.
Myself.
It is an institution, it's an individual, somebody who can authenticate it beyond my own authentication,
Exactly.
that I am who I say I am, and that these are my names and this certificate actually belongs to me. There's a third party who needs to now go beyond me, verifying
And
it.
we know why.
Yes.
Because we have
But
cases in court
you see,
of
Eric,
people who claim.
he who doubts,
Or alleged
He
to
who
have
doubts
forged.
must prove.
yes, if you are the one who is doubting my degree, I don't have a problem with my degree. I don't doubt my degree. In fact, I even carried the original copies because that's what it says.
So the burden of proof lies on the one who is asking for this
Exactly.
verification.
It should be IBC to say, okay, did you go to University of Nairobi? Or did you go to Warwick University in the UK? So it's them to ask those questions. You can ask, I can tell you, my name is Ekuru Aukot. It's for you to say, no, you're not Ekuru Aukot, you're not City. So you are the one to go and find out exactly whether this is Eric Latiff or who, you know. You can't tell me if I tell you who I am and then you're saying, no, I doubt who you are.
Then you go prove it.
I'll ask you to give me your
So
ID
who
to prove that
do
you
I
are who
go?
you say
Who do
you
I
are.
go to prove that I'm Ekuru Aukot?
So what happens now?
Produce your ID.
But
Yes,
wait.
An ID
but you can
that-
still doubt. You
an
can still
ID
doubt that the
But
idea I
wait,
produced.
But wait, what does IEBC require of you when you present your documents?
So,
what do they require that will satisfy them that this thing is authenticated and verified and approved?
So
yes,
City,
what?
I went with my original original certificate from the University of Nairobi and from Warwick University. Okay, the law does not require it requires a
Yes,
minimum
degree, yeah.
degree. I went with that, but I carried all my certificates. Then the certificate I took, the copy, was also certified by a commissioner for oath and notary public. Okay, I had it with me. So, if Chebukati, in any case, I asked him, but do you know, interestingly, I used the same copy of the certificate that I used in 2017.
Which was accepted.
Which was accepted.
That was 2017. This is 2022.
Yeah, but you see, but does my certificate change from 2017 to 2022?
No, it doesn't change.
The same.
It's the year that has changed.
Yeah, the year has changed.
But the good thing is, good news here is it's the same IEBC boss.
Exactly.
Okay.
Absolutely.
But clearly he's seeing these things differently now.
But Ekuru, I hear you. I mean, through all the things that you've said, one thing that rings very clear to me is that you are obviously putting forth an element of foul play here.
What else can it be? Because honestly, like City has said, I dealt with the same IEBC boss in 2017. The same IEBC boss. We even have images of him handing me the certificate. He never raised any of these issues.
And do you think he's doing this to everybody else as well who's been chucked out?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I mean, let me give you my speculation. Obviously, I've made some enemies politically because of our opposition to the BBI. I suspect that Chebukati has a script on who to admit and who not to admit into the election. To be honest, I think if they had the opportunity, we know that they are pushing for a government project to be the next president. And you know, I know, for example, and I remember I tweeted a couple of days back that in 2007, Raila Amolo Odinga won the vote, but somebody else was declared president of Kenya. I fear the same might happen this year. Somebody else will win the vote, but may not be declared the president.
Early on you said that there is...
For example, look at it, if there is no malice, why would Chebukati then give, for example, someone like Wajakoya an opportunity to go and bring signatures from 8 more counties?
And nobody else.
Mwaura, the same thing. And why not me?
And not Akuru.
He's definitely treating us different, discriminately. And of course, I mean, what else can it be? Honestly?
So what are you doing next?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So what we have done, we are now, we have already filed our complaint to IEBC. We have requested for an audit of how the verification took place. In other words, we are actually trying to exhaust the internal dispute resolution mechanism, which is within the IEBC Act. But of course, even as I speak to you right now, my lawyers are drafting the documents, and definitely will move court if those IDRM mechanisms are not exhausted.
You know, like you earlier on you said that one of the things that is happening with the issues you're bringing, that those who you say are in power and have impunity have their chickens coming home to roost. I get the impression it is you who's having your chickens coming home to roost.
How?
Because you say you have enemies. You say you made enemies along the way, and now what you're implying is that they're in a position to actually exert some revenge.
Enemies
on you.
have ganged up.
Yes.
Well, it's possible. It's possible people are now, hitting on me because of maybe what our stand. I mean, I honestly, I don't make any apologies. I will defend the rule of law anytime, regardless of who you are. I don't care who you are.
What if the court finds that the IEBC and all the government bodies that deal with elections were right and you're wrong? What will you do?
It's okay. I mean, it will be a finding of the court. It will be a finding of court. Doesn't mean that I don't have a stand, City. I have a view, and my view may not be necessarily yours. I mean, let's have a divergence of opinions, but it doesn't mean today. I mean, and City, I want people to criticize me on the issues that I'm raising, and let's actually be, fair enough. Let's debate them fairly. Are the issues that I'm raising? I mean, look, to doubt my degree. That because it's an administrative issue. You could easily tell me, Ekuru, go and verify this certificate, come back. This check is wrongly addressed. Can you correct it?
Right.
It's as simple as that. It's an administrative issue. You cannot take away a whole constitutional right. Yeah?
It's not fundamentally wrong.
Yeah, it's not. What prejudice will Chebukati have suffered if he just told me, I think we need your certificate verified? Or even themselves calling Commission for University Education to say, okay, we have our certificate here. Can you confirm whether Ekuru Aukot attended the University of Nairobi or not?
Ekuru.
Surely.
All the best to the next.
Yeah, but honestly, I think we need to expose this unfairness. I mean, this mistreatment of other candidates.
And that's why we are raising these issues and having this conversation here. Thank you for joining us today. And
hopefully you'll invite IBC to come and explain some of these.
Yes.
Please.
That's definitely.
Put them on the spot. I mean, is this really, is it fair? You cleared me 2017. Today you're giving a flimsy reason why you're not clearing me. Surely, what else could it be?
That's true.
Malice.
Keep it here for more coming up throughout the day on SpiceFM. Thank you very much for tuning in today. Tomorrow we'll be back from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m.
And come to our...
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM.
Good morning, this is Nizo Aseto. The Kenya Meteorological Department has announced the onset of the cold weather season of June to August. The cold weather conditions arise from a